Russell, what's up? Will,
Yeah.
Jeanette, how you doing?
Living life.
Nice.
Living
I like the dress. You're all dolled up, Jeanette. I love it.
This way.
Thanks. Gotta celebrate and shit.
Man, he didn't even
Absolutely.
recognize my outfit. You know, I wore this.
I didn't. I know you.
Only
I know
clean
you're wearing a
black shirt.
dress. You're always wearing dresses, at least when you and I hang out.
No.
Will, I mean,
my,
yeah.
my only good black shirt I got.
I'm not wearing any pants, but I made up for it by wearing a jacket. Isn't
There
that
you
like
go.
is that like a Zoom rule, right? I mean,
Yeah, 2020, bro. 2020.
Right.
nice.
All right, so we are on.
Hey, Eddie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Oh.
Search my name. Hold on, people are like, I don't know how
Search
to
my
find you.
name. Search my name.
Oh,
Search
look
my
at that.
name.
Who's that baller right there? Well, is
that's
that
Denzel.
He's,
that jacket I lent you?
Yeah, actually.
That's dope. Dude, that's dope. I love it. It's better than the jacket I'm wearing now. I wish I would have had it with me.
Where is that jacket?
It's a dope jacket.
Jeanette, are you gonna post the stream on Facebook too,
I am.
or okay?
No, I am about to right now.
Just so I can share it on my page, you know.
Absolutely.
Hey, Darren, what kind of camera do you have?
I'm using this is a DSLR, so if you got it, if you just
Connected?
Woo!
yeah, you just get a video capture card. This is a cheap one. It's $20 on Amazon.
Wow.
Plug it right into your computer. Yeah,
I think I got one of those. I think Dre got one of those.
yeah. It's super. It makes a big difference, and then got a light right here and light back there.
It looks badass.
Figure
It
out
looks
how to
like
Yeah.
super heavy duty, legit.
Thanks,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Well, we got that podcast, so I try to make it, make it.
Yeah.
hide the
I found that camera online. It's like this webcam that has like the ring light around it.
Yeah.
So I want to try it out.
Yeah,
But,
it makes a
Good.
difference, man.
Save me from saving to buy separate equipment if I can just find one good one.
Yeah.
Times are rough. Babies are growing.
Hey,
Babies are growing.
I hear you.
listen,
Hey, Kevin.
They be like, I'm hungry.
I just asked Shadia, did she need me to go out here and start selling drugs again? You know what I'm saying? Shit,
Mm.
like,
Sometimes you got to sling it. I ain't talking about the drugs.
hey, don't record this, but in college,
It's already on. It's on.
It's already recorded.
Oh,
In
nah,
college,
nah,
we
nah.
was slinging for Jesus.
I
Yeah,
was,
you might,
I was
amen.
slinging knowledge.
You know, knowledge for the Lord, because the Lord says,
I would never
knowledge
do
is the
nothing
key.
like that. I would never do
Mm-mm.
nothing like that. But tuition
child of God.
Oh my goodness gracious, y'all are funny. All right, hello everybody.
Bonjour.
Hey,
Hey.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. I don't speak any
Hey.
other languages, so we're just
Hello.
gonna go with hello.
Hola.
Hello. Oh,
What
I
up?
can say hola.
You
I
can say what
say,
up.
boa noite. Because it's
Nice.
hey, right.
Fancy.
There you go.
Fancy. I like Portuguese. My name is Jeanette. For those who are joining us on on YouTube. And this is the celebration of my single that just came out today.
Congrats.
Thank you. I'm really excited about this song because I wrote it a while ago, and I'll talk a little bit about the whole thing later. But I wanted to get into conversation with these folks because tonight is not only a celebration, but it's a discussion. And I'm hoping that if I look at my calendar for the rest of the year, we're going to have discussions like this every month, the fourth Friday of the month. So if you don't catch this one, I'm going to have another one, and it'll also be up on my YouTube channel, so you can check us out there too. So let's try and go in alphabetical order, because I don't know how you all are set up on your screens.
LMNOP. Okay, I know.
We're pretty much in the beginning of the alphabet, other than Adi. So, Andy, introduce yourself and tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, hello everybody. Jeanette, thank you for having me. It's great to see you all here. My name is Andy Bianco. I'm a professional performing guitarist, composer, and jazz artist, originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm based out of Brooklyn, New York. Currently, I'm in San Diego, just looking after my mom and brother, and just here kind of sort of just hunkering down during the pandemic. And I have a new record out on Next Level Records, which came out February 7th. Next Level Records is an imprint of outside in music. I'm very grateful to be a part of that family. The record is called NYC Stories, featuring George Burton as well as Wayne Escoffrey. It's all original music of mine, and it's sort of a documentation of my travels abroad and in and around New York City, and just also documenting my working bands in the past several years in New York. I also have a single that I wrote while I was in quarantine. That's called Quarantenable, which is a virtual sort of organ quartet, also featuring Wayne Escoffrey. That I think, are we playing it later? Is that what's going on?
Yep.
Or? Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's I'm stoked about that, and that's kind of just to sort of promote my record. Unfortunately, I had CD release parties booked in my hometown of Pittsburgh and also at the Zinc Bar, and just, as we all know, none of that is happening. So trying to retain somewhat of momentum with this release. I'm blessed that that it came out prior to the pandemic, but it was still sort of, everything was cut short, and I deeply empathize with my musical colleagues that had big releases coming out right when the pandemic hit, so it's a difficult time. But I teach music. I'm out here. I just taught 2 lessons virtually. I'm big into teaching music, composition. I'm all about empowering others, especially within music. I just had a student earlier who I'm excited about her. I think she's a singer-songwriter, and I think she's going to become a real shredder, which I'm excited about. I teach, play, write, and I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful to have this discussion. Grateful to see y'all, even though it's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Andy.
Thank you.
Russell.
All right. My name is Russell Carter, originally from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, better known as the DMV. I now live in the Bronx. I'm a drummer, educator, composer. And I'll talk more about myself later, I think. That's all for now.
All right, Russell. Yeah, it'll tie into what we want to talk about. Let me see if I got my alphabet right. Willerm.
I can't see
Just
Will.
muted yourself.
Will, where'd you go, bro?
I'm right.
Oh, there you are.
I'm up. Look up. In the middle.
You had to chaperone those bears for a second.
Yeah, that's Tyrone and Lontrell. So might change it to Laverne actually after that track.
Yeah.
All right. So my name is Willerm Delisfort. Originally from Miami, Florida. Live in Harlem right now. Pianist, composer, dad.
Husband.
Superman to some folks. So favorite color is blue. I like scotch. I love rice.
That's it.
All right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we can go with that.
Darrian, you are up next.
All right, my name is Darrian Douglas, originally from Jackson, Mississippi. I'm the only Mississippian in New York, so I'm unique. That's not true. It's like one other person. I am a drummer, and I run a small nonprofit based out of New Orleans called Second Line Arts Collective, and you can check it out. We educate, we give music education to young kids. Kind of recently now we do kindergartners through 23-year-olds, various levels. But yeah, so that's basically what I do, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more. I'm like Russell, we drummers, we like to stay in the back. So yeah, so we can talk more about it later. But yeah, thanks for having me.
That's funny. I have all rhythm section players here. That's hilarious. And
Facts.
Adi.
That's all you need, right?
I mean,
It is
that's what I was.
Hi everybody. I'm Adi Meyerson, originally from Jerusalem, Israel. I play the bass, musician, composer, educator, human, recent lover of plants. Now that I have all this light in my apartment.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Planter.
Guess we'll talk
Planter.
more about me later, cause.
Yeah, we will talk a little bit about everybody. So, the first thing that I want to get into, and Andy, I'd like you to talk about this a little bit because I saw you out on the West Coast, and I was so jealous. And anybody can participate in these, but I want to talk about how you have found, and I admire you from afar, regarding your balance of life. It seems as though you have a fairly good balance on the things that you do, not only music, teaching, other things that you do, and a sort of way that you live your life. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why that's important as a musician, but also as a person living in 2020.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you for inviting me to talk about this topic. With regards to balance, I just kind of view balance as a really integral part of well-being. And I recognize balance is a concept that seems to just exist in all aspects of nature and reality. I mean, there's a balance between light and dark. There's a balance between good and bad. There's a balance, in music between, maybe too much or not enough. So balance is just something that you find everywhere. And I think in terms of wellness, I think balance is really important. For me, as I've, just gotten older, balance has become a lot more important to me. And I just kind of like to think of, my life in general is sort of, it's just trying to get stuff together, trying to improve myself. I really do believe that, if I can at least strive to be the best person that I can be, then I'll be able to help everybody else in a sense. And this is something that I've thought about a lot. So, there's a lot of things that I like to keep in mind. I mean, I recently quit drinking about 4 months ago, which was, I'm quite an extroverted, sociable guy, as my friends know, and not drinking has been a really great thing. But the thing is, it's something that I really love to do. I haven't really dealt with, not drinking in social settings because there really haven't been any, and I haven't dealt with it in all the settings that I had before. But I felt that it was, I had my fun with it. And now I want to just sort of work towards being the best person that I can be, and being sharper, being more productive, being more focused, being more ethical, making better decisions. So that's something that really has helped me with balance in my life. And I believe that I really believe in, in order, if we want to try to strive to be the best that we can be and offer the best side of ourselves to the world, we have to make sacrifices. And I love drinking. I love alcohol. I love scotch. I love bourbon. I love beer. Right now, I could drink a bathtub full of Dogfish Head 90 Minute. I could drink whatever. But I won't. I'm not going to do it. I'm sacrificing it because I want to be the best person that I can be to myself, to my family, to my friends in the world. So that's something I've been focusing on. One thing that really helps me, especially in the time that we're in right now, in terms of balance. I'm fortunate. I have family that is out on the West Coast, so the weather's nice. I wish that they were closer to me, because coming out here it's costly. But I try to take advantage of nature. I'm very much someone that is home in nature. I recently went on my first scuba dive in over 10 years in La Jolla, and it was great. And even though I lost a fin and I got tangled up in a kelp forest for a while, I didn't drown. I didn't get bit by a shark, and it was cool, and I had a blast. So nature for me is something that helps me keep balance. I feel like in whenever we're dealing with trying times throughout history, of which there have been many, I think that it's very important, for me at least, to think about ways we can nurture ourselves. I think that we must all nurture our minds by reading, thinking, and discussion and debating challenging things. I think that we nurture our spirit by prayer or meditation, or different ways that we do that. We nurture our bodies with exercise and outdoor adventure. And I think it's important also to nurture our hearts with acts of kindness and generosity towards other people. That's really important, I try best. Something I've been really working on is I really try to choose peace where there's anger, and I try to do unto others as I would have them unto us. And this is something I've been focusing on more since I stopped drinking, and I think if we can all focus on these things, we can nurture ourselves and we can fortify ourselves, and we have the best chance of making ourselves the strongest individual. And I believe that a society of strong individuals is what we need. And that will eliminate, a lot of the suffering that we see. And I think that striving for that is a way that I help get balance. If I get anxiety, if I'm doing these different things, it takes me out of my head, or, reading, whether it's something Alex Haley or Herman Melville, reading and to get away from the news, this 24-hour news cycle, the social media, getting away from that, which can be toxic, reading, looking at art, poetry, going outside, just looking at animals that you see in nature, whatever. All of these things, I think, nurture ourselves. And I'm also, I want to say, I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful to do things like this, and I'm grateful to be asked for this. And I want to thank you, Jeanette, and I want to thank all of you. And I feel that whenever a group such as this comes together to discuss the challenges that we face, as a society, as a country, and as a city, I feel very hopeful, because I really believe that our honest pursuit of truth, our honest exercising of our free speech, and our engagement in good faith, respecting one another as all individuals, and trying to treat each other well. I think that in the past that has led to all of the, the great accomplishments in history. And I think that knowing that and having faith in that will sustain us.
Thank you, Andy. Sometimes it's hard to have like faith or hope in anything when something feels like it's failing. But a lot of something that's comforted me is just to look at history, even the bad parts, because I think it's really important for all of us to look at what happened before. And that's on me. I love that you said that it's about the individual, because it's really important that we don't try and look and be somebody else's form of wellness and form of health. Because I stopped drinking a while ago now. And like, I'll have a glass of wine if I really feel like it. But
Nice.
I love to party. I love to be a social person. So that stuck to me. But I realized I can still do that. I've always been able to do that and not drink. But
Wonderful.
It's really hard to do that in New York and to not spend much. Like, it's really hard to be like, I'm going to go out and have a good time, like, and be social and not drink. Because it's like 2 drink minimum. And I'm just like, all right, I'll have a Coke. And then it's like, all right, Cokes are $8, but you can get a beer for $5. And I'm like,
right. Totally.
I would also second that, though. Like, that being, because the funny thing is, because Andy and I, we go back to great hangs in life. Some videos and pictures might be circulating, but I got some lawyers working on that for us. No, but it's like, like, I mean, there were times where, and I still do it till this day, but I'm very selective, like, since the days of like Andy saying, I'm just going to pull back a little bit. I've been a lot more selective of who I would do this with. But there were times where I wouldn't see Andy all week, but we know we're going to see each other on Thursdays because we would be at Smoke playing with Nickel and Dime Mops. So we would know that Thursdays, you know what, we're going to unwind, have a drink, and like hang. But I mean, like that having a drink was not a necessity. It was just like, you know what, it was a social way, another way of like relaxing. Like, we're going to relax, we're going to smile, and really, I think it's really after I became a dad, it was just more like I still do that because, like I still find it comforting to have a drink and just relax, not have a million. I mean, that's something different, but like have a drink and relax because I don't know, like if I have a full day, I won't have a drink until the end of the day. That's always been my thing, and if I'm on the gig and it's the end of the day, then I'll have a drink because it symbolizes, like, well, job great,
Day is done.
the day is done. It's a good job. It's 11:30 at night and we're about to play a downbeat in 15 minutes. I think we could have a drink right now,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. But I think especially in this time, what I have done is focus again on what I love to do in my alone time, since it's been really like my family and me. It's just been my parents, my brother for most of quarantine. And then now that I moved, it's just my brother and I. So like,
Oh, cool.
I do things that I that I love to do. I've started reading again. I've started doing yoga. I listen to music, like full albums. I write a lot. So I think it's just about everybody's idea of what wellness is and gathering that balance, because I personally believe that a balanced person writes better. The idea of the tortured artist, the tortured whatever, I think is a stupid idea and just something that we look back on in history and romanticize, because we can probably glean more from having a clear mind and being more in tune with what's being given to us than solely creating off of pain and sadness and torture. Granted, some of my best songs have been sad songs from a bad situation, but that doesn't mean that I always have to be in that situation to write them. And I think that's important, because if we're not, if we're not taking care of ourselves and we don't really have, what are we going to give? Like, what do we have to give?
We all also can't assume that tortured song was written at a moment of being tortured. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
so like the experience of being assaulted by the police, or the experience of having that heartbreak, of the experience of like finding love, maybe the cause of it. But then, it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in that experience right now. Like, like, oh man, I'm just on drugs a lot, and I'm doing drugs right now, and I'm writing this song because I'm on drugs. It's like, no, you probably reflecting on the decisions and mistakes you made in life while you were on drugs. Now that you're not on drugs, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't.
Yes, absolutely.
But I do agree that society has romanticized it as if that was something that was going on. I just shot 12 ounces of heroin in my arm and I just wrote a song. It was like, no, you're dead.
Right.
That's just not how it works.
I also think that, like, as professionals, we're not just sitting around and waiting for a feeling or an inspiration to hit. Like, if you got a deadline and you're a professional, you're trying to work in this field as a composer, as a songwriter, as an artist, like, you have to learn how to put yourself back emotionally in a situation, even if you're not in love, or you're not sad, or you're happy. Like, if the song needs, if you're just going to write when you're sad, or you're just going to write when you're in love, it's like you're not going to end up with like very much material. And it's kind of a skill, and people I think in the outside world that don't really understand that think that we just like sit around and wait for some like lightning.
I feel sad.
If you feel sad, I'm gonna write something. Like, you will have all of these emotions and these moments, but Bomani Jones said something really, like, he called himself a professional communicator, which he is, but I was like, yo, that's a dope title. Like, we are essentially professional communicators. So if we can't pull from something, what is our skill set? We have a question from JX Breeze. Shout out to JX Breeze in France. He played the single we're going to play a little later. And he wants to know, what are some of your favorite albums that felt like they were written from a peaceful place?
Coming with the heavy. Okay.
Right?
Wow.
Like,
I mean, can I breathe? Oh, okay. Coming from a peaceful place?
Yeah.
Peaceful place.
I know
think about
part of the story. I know part of the story behind this album, but Corinne Bailey Raised the Sea. I think it was her second album. And it was the album after her husband had, I believe he committed suicide. So she wrote about that in a song, but she also, wrote the rest of the album. The whole album's not about that, but it feels like it came from a place of, I felt this, I've been through it, and now I can write about it. And it's beautiful and it's hard at points, but it's such a wonderful album, like from top to bottom. One of my favorite albums of all time.
I got two, one with lyric, one without lyric. And the one with lyrics, and I can't say it's my favorite, but it's one of the first things that stuck out after the question. One of them was Jamie Foxx, I Wish You Were Here. It was I believe it was a song. It was in the height of his career. He did Ray. I think his album won a Grammy. I mean, like Jamie Foxx was like was literally the hottest thing that was out. And his grandmother passed away. The woman who I believe raised him was like his all, and she passed away, and she wasn't there to see all the things that he's done. And I think that's one of the lyrics. You know, I wish you were here to see the things that I've done. And it was a song to his grandmother to say, like, you know, like, I wish you were here, so you could see what I'm doing and this and that and that. But there's a sense of peace, of acceptance from his voice. You know, I would recommend checking it out. You know, so you can hear Jamie Foxx. I wish you were here. I think it was the Unforgettable album. I don't know. But he talks about. He just seems like he was at a place of peace. Like, I know that you're gone. You're at a better place. But I wish you were here. You know. And the other is Oscar Peterson's Song to Alethea. So that's my two.
I should write these down.
I have two. Also.
Wow. That was a hard question.
I'm gonna just go with like what popped into my head.
Yeah.
One of them is A Love Supreme, John Coltrane.
Oh yeah.
I think that one there's something very grounding and peaceful about that. And another one is one that I actually just listened to today. Was the new Leanne La Havas album, which I think like there's a combination of lyrics and songs, and like a lot of the songs feel like they've been written from a point of like really being at peace with yourself and like being very vulnerable and being okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is good. I like this.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
I
more,
love that.
But
I would say Miles Davis in A Silent Way.
Yeah, man.
Oh, okay.
Just really, really chill. Always chills me out. You know, really builds. Like, I mean, full of emotion, but just seems like it's coming from peaceful place. You know, even though I've heard stories that everybody in the studio wasn't at peace in the studio, but
studio life
came out peaceful, you know.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Andy, can you think of one?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, there's really just one that I've been lately I'm actually just transcribing it. It's Wes Montgomery with a Wynton Kelly trio, Smoking at the Half Note, 1965, and it's his version of John Coltrane's Impressions. And I'm actually transcribing it, and it's funny because that was the first time I ever heard Wes Montgomery. I picked up a compilation, it was like Wes's best songs on Verve, and I think that was the first track, and I heard it. It was the first track, and it was my first introduction to Wes Montgomery. I think Wes Montgomery is the greatest jazz guitar player that ever lived, personally. And I remember hearing it, and it like blew me away. I was like, this is like, there's something deeper here that's like, it's transcendent of the guitar. I don't know what it is, but there's this sound and this truth. And for some recently, that has been calling back to me, and I'm like, all right, I should learn this solo because I've been transcribing a little bit of Wes lately. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna learn this solo because I think it may be the greatest jazz guitar recording. Just the way that he develops everything, single note lines, octaves, chords, it's just unbelievable. And there's something deeper that I noticed, like as soon as I put it on, because you know, obviously I'm listening to it a lot because I'm copping it. There's some, I don't know, like I feel like there's like some deeper truth that's going on there that I'm hearing through the music that I kind of want to try to get to. In addition, I mean, it's just marvelous guitar playing, and it's mind-blowing, and it's like he's playing these lines that you can really hear his influence, you know, from Coltrane. He was asked to play in Coltrane's band before McCoy and before Steve Kuhn on piano, and he said no, he wasn't into it because he wasn't so much into the out stuff. He was more like a beautiful melodic type player, and so he turned down the gig with Train, which is incredible. Wow. But I mean, yeah, that recording where he plays Impressions. And there's just something about it, and I'm like, this is just, you know, it blows my mind. And there's something that's making me revisit it. It was my first taste of Wes Montgomery, my first taste of jazz guitar, and now I want to get it under my fingers to try to search after that deeper thing that I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great
Yeah.
rhythm section too. I mean, Wynton Kelly trio. You know, that's you can't. That's like the. Oh man.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know if it was written from a peaceful place, but it gives me peace, and maybe that's even more important, you know. I like this record, Ellen Lewis, and I'm sure we all know it, but it's something about that record. Every time you listen to it, you feel happiness. At least I do. And yeah, I, I have a hard time believing that music from a certain time period, or even music now, is ever written from a peaceful place. At least for me, because it's harder to be inspired when you are at peace, when everything is even and happy. It's easier to be inspired when you cursing your girlfriend out in the rain, you know.
No, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So, you know, that's where I'm at with that.
That's understandable. I mean, like I said, like one of my favorite songs that's on my EP is By Your Side. And that was written because I was so upset that I would never be in this person's life the way I wanted to be. And I finally found, and so I was in that place, but then I finally found the words to put it all together. And it took a lot to put it together. And anytime I started writing it or continued writing it, it was like, oh man, this sucks. Like I remember how this feels, but I'm gonna keep going because it's clearly wanting to come out. And then I finished it. Like the bridge was the last thing we wrote. Finished it, and I was like, yep, this is it. This is what it feels like. This is what it felt like, and we'll see what other people feel like when they listen to it. And so it's a really good point that it is very important that when people are listening to it, what do they get? And that could be anything. Like you could listen to the most peaceful song or that somebody thinks is the most peaceful song, and they have a memory of it, and it's like, yeah, fuck this. I fell down the stairs when this was playing, and I broke my arm. This doesn't give me peace. Like I don't care what anybody
Yo.
says.
Yeah.
Who has a song that they wrote that they just never want to play again? It's not because the song in their eyes is not good or is not bad or is the greatest. It's just like, yo, I just really never ever want to go back. Like I worked so hard to get past
This feeling
here,
yes.
and the first thing you ask, can you play such and such? Like, nah, man, I don't want to play that. You know, I'm just, you know, I've had that happen to me, and I was just always curious, you know, out of all my peers, if you all ever gone through that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Well, like, yeah, I don't ever want to. Yeah.
Oh, like just put it deep in the
it.
box somewhere. Like, yeah, it's actually in this box somewhere right here. Okay.
So like maybe you can just listen to the recording because I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
I'm working on a song like that too right now. Like. Like, you know, with all the pop stuff, you know, brought it out from a couple years ago, and I'm just like, okay. Like I don't really like this kind of puts me in an emotional place that I don't really want to be in, but the fact that it puts me back there, and like I know that I can say like, all right, this song is like not bad. Like it's gonna make people feel something. So like I'm like, this doesn't suck, so I can't put it in the box and never put it out.
You know, you got to bang it. Like, I got to keep it out.
I got to keep it going. But like, I'm like after the session, every time we go in the studio and work on it, I'm always just like, oh, such a mood. Like I have to go get a drink after or something because it's just a downer. But there you go.
I got one. I thought I was a dad and I wasn't. Yeah.
Oh.
In the book, in the box, never coming back out. Like.
Wait, that's the name of the tune?
No.
No,
I'm saying it's like
that's a good one though.
It's in the books, it's in the box. It ain't never, but it's like, yo. But the song is based off of finding out, thinking that I was there, excited about it. You know, like scared. Yeah. Got excited, got accepted with the fact, and was ready to move on. Then it was like, nah. Like, so you just went through that whole
the whole
for nothing. Yeah. So like that was, man, yeah, okay.
Like, all right. Well, that's a great segue, but so much. I want to.
This is a great title too.
It is a great book.
Yeah.
Like, you're not kidding.
Barry Stephenson is joining us
Barry.
via outside in his mask. Thank you.
Hey, hey, how y'all doing?
Yo.
Y'all can hear me a little bit?
What's up?
Yes,
What's up,
we
man?
can hear you
Yeah.
well.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm in between sets. I was like, oh snap, this is happening right now, but I gotta go through this real quick. But
You
y'all
get a
gonna be
dollar.
rocking. Y'all gonna still be rocking. So I know I'm gonna come right back, and y'all gonna be still in here cutting it up. I already know. Yo, D, I can attest to those songs. That literally, I love those songs. I've heard these songs that D's talking about that she wrote. Man, I told her, I was like, you gotta release this music, yo. Like, don't be afraid of that. Just do it. That's like your most
I can't wait to hear it.
That's that stuff you want to hear. You know what I mean? That's it.
It's real. Somebody,
It's coming.
Somebody told me years ago. They were like, not too many years ago, but they were like, Jeanette, your songs are great, but it always feels like it doesn't feel like we're getting all of you. And I was just like, yeah, because I don't want to give y'all all of me yet. Like, I'm not ready to be that vulnerable. And then he was like, nah, but that's what we want. Like, we want to be. I was like, but I don't want to be sad.
Yeah.
So like what I was doing is I was writing music that projected what I wanted rather than writing about how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of doing that, the past EP was how I felt. And then this song is actually how I felt. It happens to be a little happier, but it's still like very much in the moment of how I was feeling. And what I've noticed is that those are people's favorite songs. So I know it sucks to do, but gotta.
I mean, it took me a minute though. Like, it took me 2 years to get to the place where I'm just like, I'm okay with letting people into this part of me that like, and not even people. It's like I'm okay getting to a point. I just had this conversation earlier with my friend because she was having a breakdown and she's like, I feel like my whole identity now that there's no COVID and there's no jazz and there's no gigs, like there's no jazz clubs and no gigs, like where all this identity that I've had my whole life has been like taken away. She's like, but I want to just really just make beats and do pop music. And I'm like, I went through the same thing like 2 years ago when I was just like, I felt like there was like this shift and I'm like, I'm not really putting out my whole self and like being okay with having that moment where you're like, wait, I think I'm actually okay for the world to actually like hear this other part of me and like
probably the
real
internal
vulnerable. I can never say that word. Part.
Probably internal struggle with jazz school though.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's
throw that out there. I didn't want to be shy. I didn't want to throw so much shade. Yeah.
We'll get to jazz school.
That's a good album title too. Internal struggle with jazz school.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm buying that album, Andy. I'm buying it.
internal struggle with jazz school.
Even just jazz school would be enough.
ISWJ.
ISWJ, because jazz educators love acronyms and such.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be sitting there like chord. Okay, all right, I got it.
Like, oh, that's original.
Okay. Right chord.
Just right chord. Just right chord. So in the talk about peaceful, and in Willerm, you talked about the song that that you did write. We also touched upon something that I think is important that I want to talk about is legacy. And there are 3 fathers on the call. And
wait, four fathers.
Four fathers.
Four fathers. Sorry.
And
Barry,
did Twaka.
Barry is out of the video, so I forgot that I didn't realize he was still here.
You still trying to figure out Andy.
Unless Andy has something that we don't.
Yeah, I was about to say, Andy, you making an announcement today?
If anybody hears anything, let me know. I mean,
Andy grew a beard, man. You know how that happens. It's like, oh man, you got okay.
Oh man.
So I want to talk about legacy because I'm the daughter of musicians. So where I'm from, everybody knows me as Miss Berry's daughter or Tom's daughter. I wasn't myself, or Inez's granddaughter. I wasn't myself for a very long time. And there are parents on the call. And Russell, I wanted to start with you because I know that you are the son of, you're a junior. Is that true? Or am I lying? Are you not a junior?
I am.
Yeah, so you're a junior.
I'm well, I mean, the second, but yeah, junior. My father has the same name as me.
So
I
have the same name as my father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that out because I was recording the backgrounds for this, and Dante Pope recorded some of the backgrounds. And he's like, Russell Carter, I work with his dad. I was like, excuse me? Like, what?
Really, he did?
He did. He did say
Wow.
something to that, to that thing. So I was like, oh, that's dope. He's like, yeah, but I've never met Russell, like Russell our age. So,
wow. Wow.
yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what it means to you as a person, what it means to you as an artist, and what you are doing as a father to leave some sort of legacy, and what that all means.
Yeah. Well, I also have, a brother who's here in New York, who is a professional musician, a bass player, and then I have a brother who lives on the West Coast, and he's in technology, but he also still plays some piano. So pretty much, my whole family is involved in music. My mother is also on the radio, so I have a whole family
awesome.
involved in music. Like when this whole pandemic first hit, it was really, really frustrating for me, as I'm sure it was for a lot of other people. And couldn't help but think negative things at first. But as time went on and I just started thinking about things, I kind of realized that this whole thing is kind of shining a light on some of the things that have been wrong, for a long time. And just when I think about legacy, I'm thinking about right now, like a lot of things are changing, and we're looking at a lot of things that are wrong in society. Um, a lot of things that are wrong in a lot of areas, and people are also starting to speak out about the arts and music. And I just think, in these times, our legacy, is most likely going to be to really change things. I mean, and there needs to be a big change in a lot of areas. And when I think about legacy, I kind of just think about it in the broader sense of like how are we gonna change things, just to make things better for all musicians and all artists, because it really didn't have to be this way, that like everything just dropped out, and like there was really nothing for a while. And I think there were a lot of things that we weren't really thinking about, maybe because we were so consumed in what we were doing. But I think the biggest legacy, I could leave and we could leave, is just to change things,
Hmm.
um, for the better of everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, my I'm such an idealist, right? Anybody that knows me, I'm like,
We definitely know. Bless you though.
Yeah.
thanks. Like I have
It's
there
not a
is
bad
a
thing though.
Nah,
no,
not
and
at all.
there's a grounding that I've had to do. Like I am logical and realistic, but also idealistic. So the whole reason why I wanted to get everybody together is because I wanted to like really talk about what could be possible. Because for so long, all of us like were like, damn, like what is going to happen? The world ending? I mean, it might be ending. Like it might be. But what does that mean for what we want to do while we're here? What does that mean for what we can change and how we can become better? So I think that's really important, Russell. Like, what are we doing to make things better? And I think as musicians in New York, it's really interesting because so many people have left.
Hmm.
I mean, people will come back, and New York will live on, even if it's different. It's always been different, and it always will be. But it's interesting. What do we do from here? What are some things that you all might think can help our legacy out in New York? And we'll also talk a little bit about this a little later too. But I think that's important. Willerm, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, cause the funniest thing, cause growing up playing music, you know, Miami, Tallahassee and the Chi, then New York, um, especially New York, and then living with like having students who are like legacy babies, I like to call them, or peers who are legacy babies. Like my outlook as far as legacy is has once I became a dad has changed a little bit. It was just kind of like, okay, listen, the world does not care, and if you have an advantage over someone, they will take you. You know, um, or just watching kids who get accepted into programs because their dad or their mom's a musician and they're in your class and you're like, okay, but son, you can't play your major scale. Like I'm trying to I need you to do your assignment. Like, oh no, why are you in my class? I'm sitting there thinking like if I'm teaching the top class and you're in my top class and you can't even get the work done, it's just like, cause who your daddy, who your mama may be.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like so like a lot of that has stuck with me. So it's just kind of like, well, my kids, I want them to be proud to say that's my daddy. That's my
Yeah.
dad. My dad is such and such. I want to leave everything that I write to them. You know, I want them to go around and say, I want my son to get a kiss from a girl because he's like, that's the you know Will Delisfort, Willerm Delisfort, c'est papa. And be like, what? And like, I always want to hold your hand. Like, I want that to happen. In the weirdest way. Seriously, for real though, for real, for real. But and if they and at some point in life they decide that they want to pursue music, then it's like man, it's gonna be hard because like I'm not gonna like allow you to be that kid, that was in my class,
Yes.
So I get it why certain legacy babies like they work so hard because like man, it's hard for them because they'll always be compared to their dad or their mom.
They're in that shadow.
And that
Yes.
shadow, man. So it's just like okay, we're gonna work so that you will eviscerate my shadow. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't bother me. And it's that thing about you don't really understand or appreciate until you become a dad. Where it's like, oh, once you were born, I stopped thinking about my life. Everything was about you.
Yeah.
Is that? But you're in your prime. Yes, I was in my prime, and I'm trying to do this in my prime so that I'm trying to be the best in my prime so that you could be further.
Yep.
It's
Absolutely.
weird, but as far as like the legacy is just like, so man, I want to leave you something to be proud of. I know how the world works because there are students, there are peers. And there's a lot of people who are places they don't need to be. There's a word for that. What is that word?
Nepotism.
Nepotism. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a
Yes.
mother, and it's like I want
Literally. Sorry.
yeah. So it's like that's always been my thing. It's like if you want to do this, if you don't want to do this, I want life to be a lot easier than it was for me because I did such a great job. But we're going to work hard. We're going to make sure that you work really hard so that no one could ever say that you got this because of me. Even if you did, you could like back it up because you're just a bad mofo. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It's weird.
It's true though. It is absolutely true. I want to give a shout out to some of the people that are in the chat. Dan, Sharif, Dorothy, L. Hello, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Sharif, we won't crack any jokes on you tonight. We'll save that for
Yeah,
the,
tell
the
Sheree he owe me
private.
my dollars. I want my dollars.
Oh, you
I'm
heard
sorry.
that?
We're not gonna crack jokes. You're right.
It's okay.
I
It's
want my
okay.
dollar
It's
though.
all right.
I want my dollar.
He wants his dollar.
Yeah, dollar.
So now I might change things up a little bit. Barry, you said you're on break right now.
Yeah, we're on break for a second. I think we go back up at like 8.
Okay,
But,
so what I'm gonna do is I want to introduce your song then.
oh snap!
Is that cool, Andy?
Yeah, it's 100%
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, awesome.
Oh shit!
So
Awesome.
Thank you, Andy. I love you.
Yeah, buddy. Love you, buddy. Congrats.
So
Thank you.
on this call we have some of my favorite composers in New York. and I wanted to share this day with them. So Barry and Andy are going to be sharing songs with us. Barry, can you talk about your song while I get it queued up?
Yeah. So the record is called The Iconoclast. It's coming out on Wednesday the 30th. And this song is called Pork is a Condiment, the Sweet Smell of Freedom. And it's kind of like we were making this joke in the studio about how pork is like in America is basically like, you know, a condiment on most food. Like you season your vegetable with like pork, you know what I mean? And we're like a huge culture in that regard. And it's kind of funny because like, you know, a Jamaican woman told me this while I was at their at the shop in Brooklyn one time. And I was like, man, pork is a condiment. We just kind of laughed in the studio a little bit about it. And then they didn't think I was actually going to name the song that. I was like, yeah, that's the name of the song.
That's it.
Because before, yeah, it was like it's just based on these two licks. So when I brought it in, the music said licks on it. That's all. Said licks. We're gonna play this song, and we were rehearsing what we were gonna do because I kind of like came up with these sketches, and then Nick Payton was saying, who produced the record, Nicholas was like, I want to hear this melody the whole time. So we just looped that while somebody was soloing. One of the saxophonists always held it down and had the melody going. And then the rhythm section just kind of went in behind them. So, yeah, Pork is a Condiment, the Sweet Smell of Freedom.
All right, so if everybody
Love that title.
It's a great title.
It's very Mingus-y.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, it really is.
Gonna say that.
I love it.
Well, you know, Mingus is one of my main mans. You know, I had that green poster of him that everyone's probably seen like hanging in my practice room in college. So like, yeah, Mingus is all up over that record, you know. But definitely actually dedicated on another song title, but I'll let y'all figure that one out.
Oh boy. All right. So without further ado, if everybody can mute their microphones so we can listen to this, and it'll just be us on the screen, so we'll see everybody's reaction, which I think is kind of dope. We are going to play Pork is a Condiment, the Sweet Smell of Freedom. Hold on, I gotta download it. I should have known that.
Yo, they're actually gonna. I wish I could see the faces. They're actually trying to bring.
I don't know if Barry's still here, but that was some bad shit.
You left.
He is not, unfortunately, but oh my god.
Yeah,
Wow.
killing.
That was
Yeah,
dope.
bro. That was amazing. If y'all need to figure out how to buy that ASAP. Whoever's listening to this, figure it out.
Yeah.
'Cause, yo, that's serious.
Oh my gosh. He will be, that album comes out, I'll big it up for him. Iconoclast comes out on September 30th, which is next Wednesday. So please go and check that out everywhere on September 30th. Barry Stephenson's Iconoclast. Such a dope song. Oh my gosh.
Love it. Love that melody. It gets in you.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
gonna slap Barry when I see him.
As you should. As you should.
Yeah, it was like Grease and Freedom. I understand the title now, you know, like
Yeah.
the freedom, but then also the grease, the swing, and the pocket killing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he really let loose on that. It's interesting because I've known Barry for a long time. Maybe not as long as Will. I don't know when you guys met, but man, hey, let me tell y'all something. Barry, that's a lot of growth right there, man. And his writing is impeccable. It's true. Just my hat is off to him for that one.
I met Barry when we were in Florida.
Yeah.
Nice.
I am so like enamored by so many of my peers because y'all are some killing mofos. I'm not gonna say the word, even though it's my favorite curse word. I'm not gonna do that because my mother will probably watch this at some point, so I don't want to do that. If you see me turning to another screen, it's because I have the screen with all of the chats up. So people are loving it. Dan loves it, and he said, "Now I understand why he kept that melody." And Deanna said that was awesome. This is dope, and it was fire.
That was a great. That was a great suggestion from Peyton to keep that melody going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was just a constant like, ugh.
Yes,
Ugh,
the whole
you know?
time was like, ugh. Yes.
I was like,
And that also, it brings up the importance of having a producer who is not either who may be on the song, but a person that is just producing the record, because having that is such an amazing experience from the person who has produced her own stuff to then having somebody else produce it. It's such a weight off your shoulders, especially when you trust that person. It all comes down to trust, because if that person doesn't have the same vision as you, or they can't bring your vision to life in the way that you know it can be, then it's not going to work. But that's such producers are important. Everybody.
Also, I mean, you just gotta like, but I think we've all, like, on our first album tried to put the producer hat, the musician hat, the arranger hat, the food coordinator hat, the copyist hat, the manager people hat. Like, oh, you need extra water? Like, let me go get a bottle of water hat. And your one sole job was to like play, you know. So it's I'm a strong supporter of, like, you find someone that has your vision or close to what you want, and just have them just be there, no matter if they're just a dope musician and they could play. It's like, no, I just need you to be in this room, let me know what you're hearing, I trust what you're hearing, and then have someone else to be, you need some water, let me get you some water. Like
the rehearsal bartender hat,
like, hey man, somebody get that man a beer, or whatever, but it's so important, because your one job is to record, is just to play. And if you're not playing, then it's just like, thank you, sorry, kids. If you're not playing and you're worried about 12 other things, why record?
Yep, facts. It's just too much.
I mean, to your point, and Will, I think I totally agree with that. And just also to your point, Jeanette, like, the idea of a producer, I mean, that's such a great thing. Even just that one idea where Nicholas Payton was like, I want to hear this melody the whole time. Like, I mean, I love hearing these like sort of unconventional approaches to arranging. Like, you're like, all right, the melody is going to be part of the tune, through compose, boom, and then things sort of just evolve and develop around it. Just that one thing right there is so huge. And like to Will's point, when you're doing everything, and you're wearing all the hats, maybe there's no space left for something like that to occur to you.
Yeah.
But if that's outsourced to someone like a producer, just that one thing, at least for me, I thought that was such a compelling choice. I'm like, wow, what a, like, wish I would have thought of that. It's just, but that's why you have a producer. It's like.
But you know what? I mean, that's what the big labels in the industries, like, they understand that, but they also have the capital and the resources to hire somebody to do that. And sometimes when we're independent artists and we're doing all this, it's just like, okay, well, man, I can't afford that. So like, no, like I know you can't afford it, but there's a reason why such and such label, it exists. So it's just like, you should always find somebody and ask them, like, man, it never really hurts to ask your admirer, your leader, your mentor. If I could go in the studio right now, I know if I could, I would reach out to Witten, I would reach out to Peyton, I would reach out to Mark Carey, I would reach out to Orrin Evans, I'll reach out to Eric Reed, like, if it was possible, like, hey man, would you produce this? Because like, I trust them, they're dope, and they all created something that I wish I could duplicate.
Yeah.
So it was like, and that's just asking a friend, could you do me this solid? You don't know. It might say yes, but all musicians, like, don't be afraid to do that. Please don't be afraid.
Will, man, that's you totally. I mean, like, I'm like, because I've never had, like, I've had co-producers or whatever, but I've never had someone like produce my record. And you basically just totally threw cold water over whatever argument that I had not to. So I learned a lot from that, and I appreciate that. And I learned a lot from it because now I'm like, man, I'm like, oh, like, just that one little thing, and think of how much more you could get. And now I'm thinking, okay, if I do another record, which I hope I will, I want to try to get a producer. I want to get a producer.
Yeah.
And if someone's producing it, then I can focus on making a triple vodka oops for Willerm during rehearsal.
Yeah, I mean, I had this conversation recently because I'm gonna record in November.
Yes, that's right.
And I called up Mark Carey and I was like, I want you to like produce this album for me.
Mark Carey.
Awesome. But like, it was funny to hear Mark's perspective because Mark was like, I was telling him about the concept and the people and everything, and Mark was like, you don't need me to come produce it. Like, you're producing it right now. He's like, you got it under control. He's like, I can't, like, you already did half the work, if not more, 70% of the work. So like, he was like, I don't think I really, like, he's like, I trust in your vision, and I think your vision is the correct vision.
That's dope.
And I was just like, okay. But I kind of need but I need like a second set of ears in the studio. Like, I want to have another person in there to be like, hey, maybe try this way, try that way. And Mark was kind of like, I'll either produce it or I'll just come be part of it. Like, I'm not, but he's like, from what it sounds like, from what you just explained to me, we talked for like an hour. And he's like, from what you explained to me in the music, like, he's like, you got it. He was like, I don't really want to interfere in this. Like, I think you're good.
Okay.
And it was just kind of weird to hear that because I was so like convinced. Like, I was like, come help me.
Yeah.
Well,
and then he's like, no, it's cool. Like, you good. And I'm just kind of like, oh no. But that's also just a different, I don't know. It was just weird. It kind of threw me off guard in that sense.
That's great. He's being tremendously honest, it sounds. And it sounds like he really wants the best for you and your project, that's huge. And also, monetarily or whatever else, like, that's really, that's great.
I mean, also with the other part outside of the other side of the producer side, I'm the artist and I wrote everything and I conducted everything, and I need someone to come in and produce or be the other ear in the booth. The other side of it is like, yo, like, don't be afraid to ask your friends, your soldiers in arms in this, to like, yo man, could you come in the studio with me and help out? Like, cause listen, if you cover my meal, I'll come and hang out with you in the studio and just make sure I handle all the little stuff, because it's like, it doesn't hurt me to do that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, yo, you recording your album? let me come through and help out. At least I can be there. I checked out. I was there when the albums were created. You need any help? Like, yo, you need something to get copied. You need such and such. Like, you my homie. It doesn't hurt me or bother me at all to come in and just spend a day with you if I can do it. If I have something going on, then obviously maybe I can't. But if I got nothing going on, or you let me know in advance and I can clear this day, yo, I'll come in the studio with you and help you out. I mean, and that's something that we all got to get used to doing, reaching out to our friends. Bro, I'm about to be in the studio. If you could handle this and all this little stuff, because that little stuff, your mind don't need to be there. And if you were on a label with, they had millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars, you wouldn't have to deal with all that stuff now. But you don't have that $100,000. You got $5,000. Like, bro, I got you. I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna help you out. So I implore all musicians, yo, if you're in this situation, reach out to your friends, ask them if they can help. And if they can't, it's no biggie. If they can, it's a win. I promise you, your whole project will be a whole lot better because you're not worrying about copying papers.
So I totally agree, and I wanna shout out some people. So JX Breeze just asked to produce my new EP. So the first single, Hard to Love, was produced by me and Willie Green. Willie Green was the recording engineer, but he also was the second set of ears. Willie, I've known Willie for at least 15 years now, being on the hip hop scene.
I've never met him, but he did some work with a different vocalist that I recorded for, and I've been hearing his name circulate a lot.
He's amazing. So he engineered the whole EP. Well, 2 out of the 3 songs in the EP, and then Darrian Douglas produced With You on the last EP. And when I tell you that it was magical, because and also another thing for folks watching and for y'all, and you know this, but like who you have in that session is so important, because if you don't have the right people for the session, they might be amazing musicians, but if they're not right for the song, it won't work. So for instance, I had Russell on drums. I had Nasir Dickerson from Philly on tenor sax. I had Brandon McCune on piano, and I had Darrian Douglas on bass.
Brandon McCune is just sweet Jesus.
He was my accompanist in high school. That's how I know Brandon.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So I was like, hey Brandon, don't you want to play this song? I called in all the favors on this EP, and then Darrian was like, yo, I hear the demo. Can I produce this song? Like, I know what you want. And we got into the studio, and he literally did everything that I wanted. We didn't discuss a thing. He was just like, this is what you need to do. And then he directed all the musicians, and I just said, I'm going to go to the control room because I'm not singing on this tape. So, yeah, okay.
Yo.
It was just amazing. Like, oh my gosh. And just the fact that he knew exactly what I wanted, it was wild to me, because often that doesn't happen. Like, sometimes you got to really talk things out, like, or at least in my my history, it's been a little bit like pulling teeth. Sometimes it's just like, no, don't you hear, like, this is what I want, and I could sing something, and they'd be like, yeah, on that record, I want it to sound like that, so how do we do that? But Darrian heard the demo and knew the vibe, and he was just like, do this. Yep, that's it. All right, let's go. And it was done. So yeah, producers are so important, yo.
Also, shout out to the penmanship of Darrian Douglas.
Yes.
Yes.
Darrian.
That cat can write.
Yes.
That cat can write. Oof.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
we love Des.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a great session, and it seemed like Darrian already had in his head like what he wanted to happen, like, based off of the demo, and like you gave us some sheet music, but like I was like, man, he's like really mapped it out in his head, and like
it was amazing.
Yeah,
like
it was
for somebody to have the thought, like my cheeks hurt, because for somebody to have like to take so much care with one of my songs, and that's the first song I've ever, well, not the first, but it's one of the only songs that I've ever recorded that I've never performed. Like I wrote that for the studio. And
Nice.
I usually that was never my experience. I would just write a whole bunch of songs. I perform them for years and then we get into the studio. But this one was like, love this. And I was like, I need to record it. I was like, oh, look at this EP coming. And then here it is. So that was really, really powerful for me, especially as a songwriter and a vocalist, for somebody to trust my vision and have their own vision and it be so on point. So yeah, it was amazing. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I want to kind of pivot, and I want to talk about, because this is low key about me, but just low key about me. But I wanted to talk a little bit with Adi about being a woman in the music industry, and the industry can be as little as your block to as big as internationally. Because I think sometimes we forget that maybe we don't work in the music industry, but we work adjacent to it with the work that we do, as far as like the big majors and such.
Right.
But being women in the industry as a whole, and then being women in like jazz school, and then being
just
women
being
on
women
the
and like
scene,
being
and
women.
then just being a woman. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how you wanna.
Wow. So I want to kind of hear why you picked up bass, and what your experience. So the two things I'd love to hear from you are why you picked up the bass and what your experience has been in New York as a woman on the scene.
Okay. So I picked up bass pretty late in life. Just picked up music in general pretty late in life. I was always kind of like into it, but the way I grew up in Israel, so the way school works in Israel is it usually goes from 7th to 12th grade. It's like one big chunk. So I went to this art school and I got accepted on visual art. I was painting, drawing. And I always wanted to play music, and I started hanging out with like the music department, and we kind of had a few like crossover classes. So I would take some like music history classes with them, because everyone kind of gets exposed to all the arts when you're like in 7th and 8th grade. And then I don't know, they didn't have a bass player, and I was kind of like, oh, that's cool, and I had some money saved up, so one summer I just like went on Craigslist and bought an electric bass, and I was in summer camp, I think, between 8th and 9th grade, and I just was like, hey, I bought a bass. Or someone had a bass at summer camp, and I bought a bass, and I was like, oh, I'll play the gig, and I like played a song, and that was my first gig. But that's kind of how I picked up bass. I just kind of I made a decision and was like, I'm going to buy this and play this, and then got into it and wasn't really playing jazz, but I was kind of into like fusion-y, Weather Report, Jocko, kind of half-assed jazz. And that was when I was about like 14 or 15. So like later on than a lot of people, but then also I guess kind of early. And then when I graduated, like my senior year of high school, I kind of started getting into jazz more, and then getting into upright bass and trying to produce that sound. And then when I graduated high school, I decided to pick up like upright bass and pursue like jazz in general. But I mean, I guess I never thought about this growing up until I came to the United States, and being in America like made me very aware because everyone was talking about it. But like growing up, I didn't think of myself. I knew I was the only girl, but I didn't think of it as like, oh no, I'm the only girl, or like, oh, I have to do this. I was just like, oh, that's cool, I'm the only girl. Like,
yeah.
But all my friends were guys. Like my whole life, I had guy friends around me.
Yeah.
And I think also like, and it's just the people relationships and human communications and human relationships between men and women, boys and girls, outside of the United States are very different than in the United States. So like it was a very normal thing for me to just be a girl around boys. It was never an issue.
A thing.
Like it was just never a thing. Like,
and now you come to New York.
Yeah.
And it's totally
a thing. And I'm just like, why is this a thing?
Yeah.
Like, why are people... First of all, like, why can't boys and girls be friends? The first lesson I learned in jazz school. Why aren't any of these boys wanting to be my friends? This is not fun. Like, why does everything have to have some kind of like extra shit to it? Like, what is this about?
Yeah.
She said hi to me, bro.
I mean, I'm one of my first realizations of this experience was like I went to the new school. I moved to New York when I was about 21, 22. And like literally a month after I moved into my apartment, there's a middle school there next by my old place. There was a middle school like the next building over, and two kids got into a fight and a knife fight. One pulled a knife for the other one and stabbed one of the kids to death right outside my apartment. So, mind you, I just moved to New York. Like, I'm this kid. No idea what's going on. Left for school, saw like the crime scene in the morning. Someone told us someone was killed. Go to school all day. I like didn't want to go home by myself, so I went to Dizzy's because it was on my way home. And like kind of like scared, but also kind of like I don't know. And then I told one of the guys that like went to school with me that was at the session. I was like, man, like someone got killed outside my apartment. I'm kind of scared to walk home by myself. And he was like, cool, I'll walk you home. And of course, this turned into this whole thing of like, oh, I'm walking her home. She probably wants me to come upstairs. Oh. Like, oh, she's offering me food, so she wants to have sex. And I'm just like, what?
How did that escalate so quickly?
I'm just like, wait, what?
You wanted a bagel.
It's like, yeah, okay. I told you can crash on the couch because it's 3 a.m. You said you don't want to. You said you don't have a way to get home, so I was like, cool, you can stay here. Like, I didn't ask you to walk you home because I wanted to like fuck you.
Right? Like, I was like my first in a cab if it was like
right. I was just kind of like, wait, what? And like that was like I remember the first moment where I was like, okay. Cool. Because it's different here.
Yeah.
New York's different. America's different. I also didn't think I was going to have such of a culture shock because my parents are American and I spoke English my whole life. And yet, it took me like a year. Here we are. I was like, to maneuver, at least to like figure out a lot of things. So that was like one thing. And realizing, okay, boys and girls can't be friends. Most of the guys kind of see you as something else. Being a woman in jazz is a thing that needs to be addressed, apparently. Like, I can't just, getting vibed. Like, I mean, granted, I also, like, I moved to New York when I was on, like, a very beginner stage of my career. Like, I was only playing bass for, like, 3 years. But I was, trying to prove myself and be out there like all the young guys and all the young people. And I had to work extra hard because I was a girl and, because I would walk into a room and, like, walk into a rehearsal and, like, I remember I walked into a rehearsal in the Union one time and Bernard Purdy was there and he was just like, you play that? You're too pretty to play that. You should go back to Hollywood. And I thought it was funny because I was young and he was Bernard Purdy, but I also was like, this is kind of jive. I was like, ha, no, I actually play that. I'm late. Like, goodbye. Cool. But, like, shit like that. And it never really, like, occurred to me that it was, like, a thing. Like, only later when, like, people really starting to, like, speak up about it and talk about it and, like, talk to other, and meeting other women that play jazz and that play this music and becoming friends with them and having this community of people, like, realizing, oh, okay, like, this is a thing. And I have to figure out and I have to learn how to maneuver in this to survive. And, like, I'm sure there's things that I would have done differently and, like, as a young person by herself in a different country. Like, there's probably mistakes I've made and things that I'm like, man, I wish, like, I would have handled that situation differently or, like, things like that. But
hindsight is 20/20. So
right. But, like, I try not to make it a thing.
Sure.
In the bad way. I try to make it a thing in an empowering way. Like, if you put me in a situation where we're, like, it's all female, or, like, especially teaching, like, if I'm in a situation where, like, I'm teaching an all-female band, or, like, I have female students, and I try to use it in a way of, like, I want to empower you and inspire you to not quit and to not give up. And, like, uplift that situation and be like, it might be hard, but, like, just, eyes on the prize and just and you have each other, you have people, and you have people to look up to, which is like something that I personally didn't have when I was coming up.
That's important because when you see yourself or something closer to who you are doing what it is you want to do, it's much easier to feel like you can do it. So I'm a vocalist, so I've always seen female vocalists. However, I never really saw, especially in jazz, a female vocalist that was okay with being like not a lady, if that makes sense. And the first time I saw that is when I saw Carmen McRae when she was older. But it took her being older to kind of feel like she could wear a pantsuit and curse, and you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I wanted to really be able to be myself. And the first time I really saw that as far as a vocalist was Mary J. Blige. Like as a vocalist performing, it felt like I could wear sweatshirts and hoops and curse and yet sing this sad song or sing a happy song and be a woman and be feminine, and it's not a problem. And then also in jazz school as a woman, I don't know if this happened to you, but it was like, and I know it also happened because I was a vocalist, but they were like, so you really don't know like theory at all. Like, my hand was held a lot in theory and all of these things, partially because we weren't taught it. Like for me, when I was younger as a woman, it was just like, oh, you don't need that. You can sing. So you don't need to know those things. Or you're a woman, you're pretty, you don't need to know that you'll get by. And it's like, no, I don't want to get by. I want to be a musician, period. Like, I don't want to be a female musician. I want to be a musician. Like, that's what it is.
That's really what it is. It's like, stop making it a thing. I just want to be a musician. Like, yes, I am a woman, but like, why do you have to point that out every time I walk in a room? Like, I'm not sitting here like pointing out things about what you look like or how you are. Like,
exactly. Like, oh man, you're a man. You really like
a guy saxophone player. Oh my god.
Like, oh my god.
Like,
exactly.
Like, it sounds ridiculous when you say it the other way around.
It definitely does. And so it's like, okay, it's not a thing. Let it not be a thing. But also we need to get, and I'm glad you said that, the idea of women as educators and and jazz educators is really important. Shout out to Lenora Helms Hammond, because she was my teacher in high school, and that's how I met Brandon. So like, and she was the top of the top. She now teaches at NC Central, and she is wonderful. And it was great to have a woman as a teacher at that time, because she not only could sing, but she could arrange, she could play piano. And it was really important. And that kept me going, even as a singer. That also made me want to be want to study theory more and be a composer and things like that. So it's really important just to see ourselves, I think, in this whole thing, because it's not easy.
Now I'm thinking about it, my first like bass teacher in Israel, upright bass teacher, I took like classical lessons from her for a few months, but she was a woman, but I never really thought about her being a woman or not being a woman. It was just like, she was the best teacher that was around, so like, that was it.
But I wonder if you were a man, and maybe I can, maybe some men on the call can answer this. Have you had, like, I wonder if a man would have a woman teacher on their instrument. Like, I wonder if they would think about it being a woman or it just being the best teacher, if that's something that crossed somebody's mind.
If we had like a woman professor.
Yeah, like a woman professor, like somebody you wanted to study with, like, say, Renee, how do you pronounce her name? Renee Rossness? Like, say Renee. Somebody, Renee like, Rossness. Say, like, she was like, could be your private teacher, but so could this other person. And it's just like, do men think about their teacher?
In undergrad, for me, I didn't, because of the situation I was and where I went. It was more like, this is your teacher, so I never really thought about it. Grad school, I was more, because I went through undergrad, it was more vigilant of who I want to study with. So, in that situation, me personally, it doesn't really matter if you're a man or woman. It's like, do I want to study with you or not? But all my undergrad experience, I've had nothing but classical female teachers, and they're some of the baddest mofos that I've ever worked with. So I mean, you know,
Right.
yeah,
It's just interesting that there aren't that many of us in jazz.
yeah, yeah. I
That's
have, yeah. I didn't
that's
have
what's interesting.
that I didn't experience. No, no, I didn't experience that. I'll
Yeah, I
tell you
think
that.
anyone who chooses their teacher based on their genitalia is an idiot. I mean,
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
I
for
you
mean,
black,
sure.
yeah.
Facts.
black as hell, you know.
yeah, I mean, the first question you got to ask
It's
yourself
not
is,
about that.
yeah, is this person a good educator?
Right.
And a lot of times, what students don't realize, and if you're young and you play, if someone just because someone is a master player doesn't make them a master teacher. So you got
Facts.
to be cognizant of those things and be like, okay, maybe this person who only plays gigs at a coffee shop, but they're a great teacher and they can give you
Yeah.
the knowledge you need. So that's what you should be thinking about. Who cares about anything else? Because it doesn't matter. Because you're there
It
to give
doesn't.
information.
I can't trust you as a musician. That's the first thing. Like, I mean, so is it a woman or a guy? I can't trust you. We're never going to play good music together.
Right.
Right. It's
Facts.
I've
And your
had
blues can't swing.
at New School. I mean, I definitely Jane Ira Bloom is on faculty at New School, and her class was one of my favorite classes of all time, and most informative. And Leanne Ledgerwood, her class was awesome. Um, Joanne Barkeen was like, she was around teaching at New School, like so. I mean, I'm. It was cool that there were some women around.
Yeah.
Do y'all think the majority of women jazz educators are in conservatories? I mean, is that a thing,
No,
or is that?
I
'Cause
mean, I don't
That's a
think
good
MSM
question.
has one female jazz musician teaching
mm,
combo, except
Wow.
for Joe Lowry, who's a vocalist.
I'll tell
Wow.
you this as a person who hires people to do stuff through our organization. You, as a man, you have to think to yourself, I am going to hire 50-50, because if you don't, your unconscious bias kicks in. And
Right.
so you'll just start thinking about other men. And then if you're black, you'll start only thinking about only other black men. And,
uh,
before you know it, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I got a whole crew of nothing but people who look exactly like me with the same equipment and think like me. And this, so you have to be
mm.
very cognizant. And a lot of those organizations aren't.
Would
And
Right.
so they just call
would
their friends.
would you recommend in a situation like that, Darren? I mean, as far as like business, if you had to come up with a faculty staff, right?
Mhm.
Would knowing that okay, I am a black male that plays drum, would you hire someone else to to fill that position with you? I mean, like like I mean, how would you go about, or would you just be conscious enough to think, okay, I have to go 50-50?
Yeah, for me, what we do is we talk
Mm,
about it within the organization. We're like, all right, we want to hire 50-50, and diversity and inclusion is important to us. So we want it to look like the world. You know what I
yeah.
mean? We don't want it to be homogenous up in here. And so we make a list and we say, okay, who are the men and women that we know first that can do this job? And so you just make a complete list and then you just whittle it down from there and just make sure it's half and half. Like
But
it's just
that
real.
is a collective. That is a collective approach, right? It's you and someone else.
Yeah, it's me and Greg, who's our artistic director. And,
Okay.
and
All
so
right.
he's a white man. You know
Shout
what I
out to
mean?
Greg.
Shout out to Greg.
Shout
But
out to
it's
Greg.
something that we had to. It's not like we started there. Like
Hmm.
we did it for a couple years, and we're hiring people. Like, wait a minute. And one of our female students
Hey.
was like, "Hey, I don't know if I want to come to this camp." She wrote me an email because you don't even have women teaching here, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Mm,
wait, oh, we don't have. Wait a minute, that's a problem."
Hmm.
And so then we started getting cognizant about it and making some better decisions.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I don't think it should come, like, nobody should be hired for a job because they can't do the job just to fill a quota. But I think the lists, like, it has, like Darian said, like, you start hiring your friends and the people that look like you and the people
Hmm.
that are around in your immediate circle. And, like,
I mean,
most of these positions of power in organizations, in conservatories, in schools are men.
Yeah.
So they're gonna bring in men, and like those lists and making a conscious decision. Like, all right, we're gonna make sure that we're just gonna be aware of this.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So for you, Adi, like I mean, like growing up, because we in America we do the whole jazz camp, we do the wee bops, we do the middle
Yeah, I never
bops,
did jazz camp.
we do the older bops,
Never.
and we do the I'm old as hell bop, and we do the
Yeah.
college and the grad colleges. Now I'm playing in such and such orchestra. Like we
Yeah,
do
we
all
love
that.
that.
But it's just like my biggest thing growing up as a black man is a black young man was always been like, I don't want to do this all state. I don't want to do this all county. I don't want to do this jazz camp because it's just going to be a whole bunch of like white teachers and a bunch of white kids who are not going to understand where I'm coming from, who are going to view me as a threat. That's always been my thing growing up. It wasn't until the society that we live in now where we started talking about women's right and like Me Too and everything else. So it's like, okay, so damn, I know I was uncomfortable because it was just nothing but white males. You know what I mean? Like, and I never really thought about it, like, okay, so I mean, like a woman is looking at it like, I mean, from my perspective, there's other men. There's
Yeah.
none of them are black, but there's other men. Now I'm thinking, okay, well, damn, you're looking at it as a situation where a woman is like, there are only men here.
Right.
So whether they're white or black, they're purple or blue, there's only men. You know,
Yeah.
um, because growing up, I don't think they even made a conscious effort. I know they didn't make a conscious effort as far as like finding like black folks, black educators in that whole realm growing up. And this is like during the Abersol. I'm an Abersol baby. When Abersol came out,
Yeah.
we all Abersol babies. If
Yes,
I'm
we
not,
are.
Yeah.
um,
Abersol was big
you
for a
know,
while.
that was the thing. It was just like, so we came up with that generation where it's like, oh, we're gonna like try to push this whole jazz education thing, and it was just a lot of white male. You were lucky if you had a black educator, and you would try to like get in that cat's combo. If he taught the worst class, like I'm missing all my major scales. If he was in that top group, like man, how can I cut this dude read so I can get in this class? Because you wanted to be with them,
Yeah.
and you did not want to experience that. I've done numerous camps in my life. Basically, this is where I'm coming from.
Didn't
So,
Abersol have a jazz camp?
Yeah.
yes, he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yes.
cats went through that. A lot
Yes.
of cats went through that program.
Yeah,
I
we didn't
never.
have jazz camp. We don't have jazz camp in Israel. I mean, I think now there's a few programs. There's a few programs that have started after I was already out of high school.
Okay.
But my first experience in jazz camp was teaching at Stanford Jazz. Like, that was my
That's
first
crazy.
time ever experiencing what jazz camp feels like, and it was like, pooh. But I mean, them as an organization actually, it's their mission is 50-50, and the same with the students. When they accept students, they want to make sure it's like at least 50-50. And I mean, working with them and talking to their organizers, it's like, and this year, not this year, last year, I worked with them for 3 weeks, and you see like the percentage of females like get smaller and smaller as the kids get older and older. And then I've had the privilege of working on faculty with Jazz House kids at this program called Chica Power, which is like a residency where they do for like 6 to 8 weeks. And there's one year where at the end they're like, we sat all the girls down in a room and we're just like, well, what, how did this program benefit you? What do you want to change? Like, what do you want to just like let us hear you? And the biggest thing was like, these girls don't get, and these are like mostly middle school to high school, but most of these girls don't, like, their band directors are the ones that don't give them their opportunities. Like, they're usually the only girl in the band. They get put down by their band directors. They don't get the opportunities to improvise, to grow. The environment doesn't feel safe to them because like and then they start dropping out. And then you see that at jazz camp. And like the older they get, the more they drop out because high school and, boys and puberty, and then like unsupportive band directors that don't like push you, or people that you don't have an example to look up to be like, oh, this is something you can do and you can pursue. And
Safety is a big thing that they mention, though.
Yeah,
Safety?
well, safety, like emotional safety. Like they don't
yeah.
feel comfortable playing a solo in front of a bunch of boys because the boys are going to make fun of them, being like, "Oh,
Ah,
you're
okay,
a girl,
okay,
you're not
okay,
good." It's not like a sexual thing, but
okay.
But
then
it could still be like just not feeling comfortable being a girl in the space. Like, for
right,
instance, I got my period when I was in middle school. I could not imagine that having happened in like band, jazz band, or whatever, if I had an unsupportive director, right? Like,
Yeah.
I could not imagine because I would have to leave. And what if they didn't let me go? You know what I mean? Because
right,
they have no idea what's happening and I don't feel comfortable talking to them about it. And that's just a very blatant
Yeah.
right.
example. Like but that's just one of the things.
Yeah.
Like, now I
And
gotta go.
another thing, it's like men don't think about this, but like as a young girl, when you're starting to like develop, right? Let's say you play the saxophone. Like
Yeah.
that's a very focus point, and young boys will notice that, and it makes girls uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's like you'll only find that out when you're in a room full of girls and they're comfortable enough to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
To like
That's real.
say something like that because you're like, wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it was good for them, and like a lot of them are like, we're gonna go back to school and be more confident, and like we wish this was all year round because we feel like we can actually improve and like having this space is important, and that kind of changed my perspective on like women and jazz thing a little bit too.
Question: the improve. Oh, you said something that triggered this question. Them having it, they wishing them having it more, you know, on the regular.
Yeah.
Is it improvement in self-esteem? Is it improvement in music? Is it improvement in anything specific or something in general?
In general, combination of both because I think a
Okay.
lot of these girls are very talented
Hmm.
and musical, and then they just need a little push
All right.
in
So
confidence and self-esteem, and then you're like, oh shit, you had that in you the whole time.
self-esteem. That's yeah. So now the reason why I asked that question is because a certain situation that I was in that I was involved in the academic environment um, was bringing up the idea of having this jazz women jazz ensemble, and I was like, oh, this is dope. Hey, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And but the thing, what I loved about it the most was hearing some of the middle schoolers that that did this program were like talking about how much they enjoyed it. It's like, man, oh, I did that band. It was really great. And then I try to get like a couple students into the one jazz house kids had because like these young ladies didn't have a camp to go through to
Right.
for the summer, and they wanted to continue playing music. I said, okay, I'm gonna reach out to some folks, see if I can get you in somewhere. Um, and I remember them talking about how excited they were, how they did it, and it was great. And I was I was taking a lunch break, walking to the vending machine, because it was like it's a lunch break. You got 2 minutes to eat this popcorn
Right.
and drink this Pepsi, and then go back in the room like, kids, let's talk about changes, right? So I'm walking
Mm-hmm.
by,
Jazz camp.
and I'm hearing, I
Jazz
mean, I'm
school.
I'm hearing like a middle school saxophone section playing Satin Doll. I mean, I'm trying to not hit the note. I mean, like I was just like, oh, walked in the room and I see this room full of like this all female band. And the first thing I thought was like, oh, this is dope. Then it started playing, and I was like, no, you know, um,
Are you talking about Jazz House or a different place
no,
that
no,
you
no,
were
this is
in?
not jazz. No, that was a separate thing. That was
Okay.
just me talking about trying to get some kids into this
I see.
specific program. But this ensemble that I heard, it just wasn't good. I mean, in the most we all musicians, right? We talking about straight up music. It wasn't good. Now, and I'm sitting there thinking like, and I'm looking at the director like, you don't hear that? Like, and I remember this director saying that, well, I don't want to like ruffle the feathers, we're just trying to like do this and that and that. And I was like, I get it. It's hard enough.
I didn't want them to panic.
Pat, hey, come on, 2020. And the big issue was like, this director wanted them to feel comfortable, want them, and I get it, wanted to feel comfortable. That's why I
Was
was
the
actually
director
like,
a male or a female?
the
That was
director
going
was
to
a
be the next
female.
question.
Director was a female.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
One of them,
That's-
yeah, I guess,
Huh.
I figured, yeah. One of them to feel comfortable, didn't want to crush their spirit, and I was like, I get that, I'm with that, but at the end of the day, like, when they get past this level and they get to the next level and all this other stuff, like at some point, their skill set will have to come and play. You know what I mean? And then if you want to bandstand with me, or if you want to sing with me, and I need to fight for you, or I need to like, listen, man, you can say all you want to, but like, yo, a D can play that bass. Like, I need to be able to say that, and I'm looking around, and I even thought about it. I was like, man, I would really love to teach this class, but there would be a lot of like things that I would have to go to as far as like HR and just understanding, like, listen, man, these are some young girls. I need to understand what they're going through right now in life, their body, blah blah blah. Like a situation, if a young lady is going through what you went through, saying would happen, I need to be able to identify that. And I was like, and I sat there and I was like, man, I'm willing to do that because I can't let them sound this bad. Like it sounded.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Would you call that educator a good educator overall?
No.
Okay. So
No.
but like even outside of that ensemble, do you think that that person is a good educator?
No.
Okay.
But that's, I mean, like, if they are and they decided to go on the side of like, you know what, I'm willing to not correct them because I don't want to like.
Yeah, that's not cool.
It's like no,
It's not
because
cool.
like,
That's not cool.
because they're gonna get to the point where it's just like, they're gonna get to a point where it's just like, yo, the music part has to. You may get that Beyonce gig, you may get that top gig, however way you got it, whether it was like political, whether it was because you're a woman, because this, however way you got it. Listen, if you got that mug, I'm happy for you. But once you get it, like that, you need to kick that side in, and it's like if it doesn't kick in, it's like, oh, because you were being held, someone's holding your hand and told you that playing in tune wasn't a thing.
Well, I think what we have to remember is that just because somebody is a woman doesn't mean that they aren't patriarchal in the sense of I to myself don't recognize that I'm doing this to other women because maybe it was done to me. Or somebody didn't treat me as if I had feelings. And so I'm going to try and treat these girls like they do have feelings. So it could be overcorrecting. It could be I'm just completely part of the patriarchy in this moment and just want them to feel good and feel okay. Like if we asked her, like if somebody was on the bandstand and she was playing something and she was out of tune, wouldn't you want somebody to tell you that you're like something's wrong? And if she says no, then we know already it's a bad deal. Right. But even if she says yes, like she needs to be called out on the fact that she is feeding this cycle of women not being able to be told what's right and what's wrong, what's good. Like most of my, and I think it's also theater, because most of my teachers when I was in high school, when I was in musical theater, I cried all the time because they tore me to pieces because they saw me as an actor. They were not looking at me as a woman. They saw me as an actor. So I think the whole point of this is that we need to look at any of our students as people and then look at that holistically. Every person in this chat is going to take criticism differently. Every person in this chat is going to take praise differently. Every person in this chat is going to have to be told a certain way how to do something. Like if I'm in a band with all of y'all, like I'm not going to be able to talk to you all the same exact way. You should get some things, of course, but like there are some things that I can say to Anwar that I can't say to Andy because I've known Anwar for almost 20 years, right? Like that's just what it is. And there's some things I can say to Will because we've been in the studio together that I can't say to Adi. So, but it's all about looking at the humanity of a person. And I think that gets lost not only on the scene, but it gets lost in school because of the nepotism in jazz education. And we have to remember that jazz education is so young, like
Yeah.
comparatively to everything else. Like this really started in what, the 70s? Like
Yeah, we
jazz education.
we arrested our legends, our elders today got arrested for playing jazz in college. We got to remember
Yep.
that.
Exactly.
They got
Like they
placed in
got kicked
handcuffs.
out of school
Got kicked out of school.
because they're playing jazz.
So
So it's like, how do we, and this will be for the next session because I think this is a good topic. But like, how do we stop that from being a thing? Like, how do
Yeah.
we, as the next generation of somebody's elders, you know what I mean?
Right.
the,
And they're
the fun
actionable.
the funny
That could be done.
suggestion I made in that certain situation, specifically in that certain situation, um, because I felt it would be it would take a long time. To me, I just assume it would take a long time for me to get through that whole HR and being approved to teach a course that way, because that means that course, that specific band was made for a specific reason,
Mhm.
and height of Me Too and all this other stuff. So it was a it was a political thing. It wasn't like, oh my God, we just love women and we want to like, support like that shit wasn't that, we
Yeah.
know it. No matter how much it should be, it wasn't the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Um and it was executed half-assed. So, and I thought, okay, well, if I would love to teach that class, but it's like I think it just would take too long for me to get approved. So I asked to be a co-director of it, just director number two. She would have seniority over me, and I would just be the bad guy. I was completely cool with like, listen, you playing out
Yeah.
of tune. That shit sounds horrible. Like, and it's just like, oh my God, blah 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 blah. Because like you still would have the other directors saying such and such, but like I could just go ahead and push in the, I was like, I was willing to be the bad guy. Well, Will's just such a mean, he's a guy. He doesn't understand. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm such a guy. I don't understand. You still playing out of tune. I need you, like, you need to push that mouthpiece in. Like, bro,
And you
shit
know
is like,
what though? Well, like if you tell them you're playing at it, if you're like, hey, you're a little sharp, you can push your mouthpiece in. They're just gonna do it. They're not gonna. It doesn't
Yes.
even occur to them. Like
that's the
Exactly.
it
thing.
doesn't
Like,
occur to them. They're not like, oh, he's a bad guy. They're just like, oh, okay,
like
I'll
I
just do what this
know
guy is
that.
gonna say.
Like, I
Like,
know that because I still have female
right.
students, and no matter how hard I am
That's
on
the
them,
crazy part.
that was the thing.
That's the
Last year,
crazy
before
part.
before Rona ended the year, my top students were all my female students. Like, banging,
Yeah.
like smashing all of them. And I'll just sit there like, and all the guys would just look at me like, and I'm looking at it like, she just waxed you up, and because I know they understand the significance of like she's doing better than you, like how
Yeah.
society,
Right.
like you can't let a girl do that. And I was like, damn, bro, like
She's
she's
tearing
just
you up, man.
she's just dragging you, but like it was just like
Yeah.
some LeBron James versus a freshman. Like, they were just looking at me like, there's nothing I can do. She just way better than me. It's like, yeah, you better ask her for some lesson.
Yeah.
Or ask her for some
Man.
tip. I'll make her the section leader. You're the
Yeah.
section leader now. Now she's just gonna tell you what to do.
I think though, like why these ensembles get created, and it's really to level the playing field, really, to like be like, because these girls are saying, oh, well, we're in band camp, our teacher, it's not that our teacher, like, he doesn't even call on them to take the solo,
Yeah.
like they don't even get the opportunity.
A lot
So,
of them do
okay,
think that girls are gonna she's gonna buckle under pressure, basically.
Right.
She's gonna cry, she's gonna get scared.
right, but so they don't even get the opportunity, but so they make these ensembles and they make these all-female things and do the 50-50 and do the inclusive, and not just with girls, like it can also be with like race and other things like that too. But once we're here, like you leveled the playing field.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now we're equal. Like
Exactly.
now we're all here. We're all in this.
Exactly.
There's like, you're not gonna, don't give them better treatment. Like you've switched up some things. You've put, given out scholarships, made more awareness, like made a policy to get these people in here. But now that they're in the program, now that they're here, like treat them as equal.
But I
Exactly.
also think that the educator, the director, bears a responsibility to keep
Absolutely.
that vibe going. Because it's like in my class, I mean, my students to tell you, man, I'm not mean, but I'm like strict, and it's just like, yo, man, if you ain't doing it, bro, I don't care. I don't care if you a boy, you a girl. Like, I'm gonna be tough on you. I'm gonna be tough on you regardless,
Right.
because the things that I'm asking them to do, it's not a middle school level thing. It's not a high school level thing. It's not even a college level thing. I'm like, yo, I played last night with Anwar. He did this. I need you to be able to do this too. And he looking at you like, I'm 10 years old, bro. I don't know how to hold the sticks. Well, you better learn how to hold the sticks.
Well, you
You
better
know,
learn quick.
and guess what? Guess what they do the next day? So I went on YouTube and I looked up Anwar Marshall, and there were a few Anwars, and I thought I found the wrong one, but then I found the right one. And he's sitting there like, bro, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? Okay, so I found Anwar, and he did this, and is this right? And I'm looking at it like, and I know a lot of my drummer brothers will know this because I've called a lot of them like, say, bro, look at this, or how you supposed to hold this brushes, and I've
Yeah,
shown
yeah,
them
yeah.
videos. I've done numerous with Darren Russell, Anwar, Jason Brown, Lawrence Leathers, shout out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I've called all of them in class, like, say, bro, look at this real quick. And they said,
Mm-hmm.
nah, man, that's not the right way. Okay, well, hold the phone. Pass him the phone. Is this Lawrence Leathers? Like, yeah, he's gonna tell you how to hold the brushes. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
Facts. Facts.
teachers
It's what you
bear
got to do.
responsibility.
Teachers are where it's at. So if there are any teachers that are watching, check yourselves, check your biases, check all
Or
of that, 'cause-
hit us up. Let us know if you need help.
or
Well, I want-
just quit, and then we can get hired.
I want to know if I wanted to just address something to Jeanette and also Addie's point, just with regards to, and this is because this is something that I'm dealing with teaching female students, and with regards to dealing with the problem of prior educators who were not encouraging properly, and also with in a more gender specific context, not good dudes that were in their life that had other agendas, that were behaving creepily or toxic or just not good, not like a gentleman, not how they should. And this is something that I find, and I want to know what everyone thinks about how we can address this, because I see it as an opportunity for us not only to kind of over-encourage, but sort of plant the seed. For example, a lot of female guitar students that I have, they mainly are focused, at least in my experience, on, being artists and songwriters and things like that, as opposed to, like sort of like a Jimi Hendrix or a Shredder. And I'm talking more kind of in a rock, R&B, neo-soul context.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have noticed, for example, I have a student right now who, she's an artist. She's got like the look. She writes songs great. She's got great ears, great music. And she plays guitar great. Like her guitar playing is great, but she has so little confidence. And her ex-boyfriend was a guitar player. And he's like, oh, and she's like, oh, my ex-boyfriend, he used to tell me that I wasn't any good. And I'm like, what? I'm like, listen, I am telling you that you are killing because you are. Here's why you are. And so it's like, it bothers me when I see women that have so much potential, and there's these other opportunities that we can plant the seed for. For example, it's like, they're coming from some sort of background with maybe a bad band director or a bad teacher or a bad boyfriend or whatever, and maybe it doesn't occur to them that they could be like a Jimi Hendrix and be like a Norah Jones in one. And this is something that I found. I have a student now. It's like she's not confident. I'm like, look, right now, and this is something along the lines of that I want to celebrate, and I'm very excited about as a guitar player. The whole electric guitar field has been dominated for a very, very long time by men. Okay, and right now, as very recently, the American artist Her, aka Gabby Wilson, recently just became the first Black female guitarist to get a Fender Signature Series guitar. That's
right,
huge.
yeah.
Bravo.
It's huge.
Thank God for that.
Huge.
That's a milestone for a Black female American artist. It's a milestone for Fender Musical Corporation. So
Yeah.
Leo Fender is in heaven. He's like we're getting somewhere. That's positive. That's a huge milestone. And thanks to artists like Her, like Andy Allo, who was I think a protege of Prince, sort of, and Prince was all about encouraging that empowerment. You know, Saint Vincent. Because of that, like I'm like, there's more opportunities than ever. So when I have a student who, you know, she's a songwriter, she's got the look, and she's got great guitar skills. I'm like, hold on a second. If I may, I'm going to overstep my role as your teacher, and I want to say, you know what? Have you thought about doing this? Because you have great guitar skills. And what I find is, you know, a lot of times there's a timidity, and I feel like these female students, you know, they've been discouraged. Like, oh, my ex-boyfriend said I couldn't play guitar, or, oh, you know, you know, I see these guitar players play, and I'm like, let me tell you something. You can be just like Jimi Hendrix. You can be just like Stevie Ray Vaughan. You can be just like Buddy Guy. And I'm going to show you how to do it, because you also have the whole other package. You write great songs. You know, you're beautiful. You've got a great vibe. You tell a story that makes everybody, that lights a spark in everybody's heart, puts a spring in everyone's step. You've got it all. And now, more than ever, there's more opportunities than ever. People are sick of seeing dudes like, you know, like me, like, you know, white dude, whatever, just dudes shredding. They want to see more women. You got her, you've got Andy Allo, you got St. Vincent. And I'm like, when I find a student that has it, I'm like, look, I know you don't really want to be like a shredder, but you could get there if you want to work with me. And if you do that, it will give you an edge as an artist that will make you unstoppable. Why? Producers are going to be like, oh, you know, I got this singer, you know, she writes great songs, and get this, she can shred like Gary Clark Jr.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like, you know, there's that potential out there, but, you know, unfortunately, you know, we have to deal with, so that's why I feel like we have to over-encourage. And it always upsets me when I see something like that, and there were people in the past, I see someone with great talent, great potential, who's this close to developing something that will give them an edge, that will take them further, you know, than many of us could ever go. I'm like, you have to grab that, like, seize that opportunity. And it bothers me where in the past there wasn't the proper encouragement for this person, whether it was an ex-boyfriend or a band director or whatever. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It's our job, and I feel like it's my job. You know what? I don't care. I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to encourage you, and I'm going to teach you how I overcome my fear, and you're going to do it. You're going to get that edge, and you are going to be unstoppable. And now more than ever is the time to do that, I think.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And I don't think you overstepped your bounds in telling her, you know, look, like, this is what you can do. I think a good teacher is going to show their students something that they couldn't imagine beforehand. Like, for instance, I have an 11-year-old student that pretended to sing opera, right? She's 11. She's not going to be vocally developed for another 15, 20 years. Actually, 20 to 25 years. And so to show, women's voices
deep.
don't. Yeah, so like, but she was singing something, and she's like, I can't do that. It's strange, because all she's heard is what's on the radio. And I'm like, have you ever heard of Kathleen Battle?
Right.
Price? Have you ever heard of Jesse Norman? So I sent her.
You're trying to preach right now. You're trying to preach. I'm about.
Listen,
Come on, get on the organ, Will. Get on the organ, bruh.
If we don't tell our students what's possible, they're never going to be able to believe that it is, because that little dude over there thought that the only thing that was possible was a little dick dude who can't really play guitar playing guitar because he's a dude, like, right? And that's not what we need. We need to show each and every one of our students themselves as much as possible in the world. For instance, there is the first Korean kicker in the NFL. You know what I did? I put him on my fantasy league, because that is ill. Like, how?
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
Like, first Korean kicker in the NFL, and he's amazing. But
awesome.
And you look at our students, especially musically. Like, I want to make sure that my students don't just look at what they've gotten in a textbook or what one of their teachers has told them is correct. Because our jazz history textbook didn't have no women in it. Like, and if it did, it was Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald.
They sang. They only sang.
To your point,
if they play piano, they probably sing as well.
Right. To your point, Andy and Jeanette is like, you know, revisionist history is a mother, because Sister Rosetta Tharpe. I mean, every
Who preaching now?
Every guitarist with any amount of sense was on the front row, like, taking notes, because she was dope. So I mean, and you know, just when you think about the history of resistance in women of women in music and still trying to you know not trying still making in art in spite of all these obstacles, and then for us to go, not us specifically, but us to go and like never really mention them to our to our students, that is wrong. That's wrong.
Right.
But I should have known when I first heard Aretha Franklin sing that she played piano. Like that should have been the first
Yeah.
that I heard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then I should have heard, oh, you know that song Daydreaming that you like so much? Yeah, she wrote that.
She
She wrote
wrote
that
that.
and played piano, like probably wrote the flute. Like when I think about the things that we aren't taught about the women in music, it's not even just like there are so many women that played piano. Period. Like almost any jazz female singer played piano. Like that's just what it is. And then there's so many female instrumentalists that we don't talk about, or we talk about them adjacent to men. Like we shouldn't have. Of course, we're going to have a
The wife
conversation
of such and such.
Coltrane.
Right.
Like, of course, we're going to have a
She
conversation
fucking such and such.
Exactly. Like that doesn't need to be everything. Like we don't need. That's not the only place women exist. We do not exist tangentially to men. We exist on our own. Like
I mean,
in this world.
Mary Lou Williams, like, okay,
Mary
like,
Lou.
It really, I mean, it pisses me off, and I mean, I heard a little bit about her when I was at University of Pittsburgh. She's from Atlanta, but she came up in Pittsburgh. But like, still, like, not enough people are talking about Mary Lou Williams. Black Christ of the Andes, Saint Martin de Porres. That chorus. I mean, the harmony in that. I transcribed it. The first time I heard that, I was like, "Oh my God, this is the
bad."
I was like,
It's
"Oh
bad.
my God!" I was like, "Oh my God!" I mean, she's got like a power chord with a major six on top. I'm like, "Oh my God!" And it's a minor six to a major six. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's resolving to." I'm like, I never heard a major sound. I'm like, it blew my mind open. She taught Monk. She brought Monk
taught
to
everybody.
church. Yeah, it's like she's like the best. Like
check
her.
this
Check this
out.
People don't talk about her.
You know how we praise Barack Obama as far as him being a black man and making it that far up in the political arena. Like you made it to the highest political, position that you could be elected to. And we always said, man, he had to be perfect because he was a black man. You had to be perfect to be a black man and do that. Like, bro, you have to be Jesus Christ's second brother. You know what I mean? Like Mary Lou was like, yo, you know how dope you gotta be to be a woman instrumentalist?
Yeah.
To get recognized in history, but never get recognized, but you got recognized, but never really got recognized. I mean, you know what I mean? Because when I say that, it's like, you know of her, but you don't know. But you know of her.
Right.
Yeah,
know.
I recently
to get that far and be instrumentalist, how dope you gotta be though.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, she was doing things like during the war, like in World War II. She was playing with like Andy Kirk and the Clouds of Joy. Like, so she's playing with these big bands. She's like up there, like palling around with Duke and Billy. And she's like, and this was when she was like super young. So it's like, it just sucks. So I mean,
it's the same with Lil Hardin.
Real hard.
Armstrong. It's the same thing. I recently I have a 6-year-old. She's a little piano student. I've been teaching her for like a year, and she's so talented. I think she has perfect pitch, and she's like so good at piano. And I was walking around and I saw this book about like Lil Hardin Armstrong for kids. And I'm like, I'm gonna buy her this book and
it's awesome.
and give it to her for her birthday and whatever. And she's like, oh my God, it's so cool. Like she's 6. It was cool to get a gift, but then I was like, I had this thought. I'm like, she's gonna grow up, and like it's kind of cool that she learned about Lil Hardin Armstrong before she learned about Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
Right. There you
Like
go. There you go.
her perception
Thanks
is
to you.
like right, or like thanks to this person who wrote this book.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Who was like, let me like
Yeah.
put this
this out
person out there for that is in an approachable way for like young kids.
Yep.
Have you all ever talked to an elder about like all the women that were a part of the scene back in the day that taught all our legends, all our elders today that we love. And it's like, oh man, what's his name? You know, Oscar Peterson, this and blah 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 blah. Like, shout out to those cats because those cats were godlike, amazing. But have you ever talked to the elders about who taught them? And they all were women. Like all the greats were taught by women. Like the Jones family, Peterson, all that stuff is like women taught them who were better than them, taught them everything that they know. So like think about that. So if we lived in a society that would acknowledge that, because we had female jazz, we had women jazz musicians, but really unless you sung, did you get the credit? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you ask anybody, just name a few like women jazz musicians in history, I promise you the first 5 will probably be vocalists.
Yep.
You know, but there's a reason because of that. Yep. One, they were bad as fuck. Like let's not get it twisted. Like stories of Ella having like musicians do this because she was so fierce. They was like, I'm just afraid. Cats freezing on the bandstand because Ella. You know what I mean? Like they were dope as hell.
And leading Chick Webb's band.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like
badass.
Betty Carter is another one.
Betty
Carter. Anita O'Day piping the rhythm section at Live at Newport with the trading. It's like she leaves him in the dust. She's like,
like where you at?
She just pipes the whole rhythm section.
Yo, she did this. My bad. I thought you. Oh shit. I thought that was.
And then also Betty Carter with her business sense and starting a label.
Yeah. Like, oh man. But that's what I'm saying. Like, so it was just so much, you know, and like the industry is the industry. It's the machine and the way they handle business in the most fucked up way possible. They was like, okay, well, if she doesn't do this, then we're not going to acknowledge it. But it's like, yo, but all the cats, this person, that person, history book, father of this, the baddest motherfucker that ever existed taught them, and it was a woman. And then she was like, yeah, no, but no one wants to see that. We want this. But imagine if it was like, you know, well, let's acknowledge.
No, it's not even that far back in history. Like
for sure.
You know, a piano player that we all know, like his mentor, you know, he would always talk about how amazing he learned everything from this woman, how amazing this teacher, this woman had taught him jazz. And it says like, have we heard of this woman? No. Like she didn't have a real career in jazz because, you know, she didn't, it was back in the 60s when she was our age, when she was young in her prime, like she did not get that recognition. And it's like you're thinking about people that are in their like 30s and 40s now still that didn't grow up in New York City being like still like that it's not just people that were in their 80s back in the day were taught by women and like these women aren't being talked about. It's like people that are really close to our generation too.
I think we have a better chance today writing the history book of acknowledging more women, especially that are not vocalists. And I don't say that to take anything from vocalists, like because we got badass fucking vocalists that exist today, and that should never end. You know, vocalists always been consistently great. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there's always been a light shined on them. But I think we have a greater chance today acknowledging women on the scene that are not vocalists, you know what I mean, that are like bass players, that are piano players, that are saxophone players, that are trumpet players, and it's imperative on all of us when the next person that's like, yo, I want to write a history book, we say, okay, you can't you can't release some shit without us reading it first.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you're not gonna write on art, because if you are living this life, playing this music, no matter pre-Rona, post-Rona, all this other stuff, if you're doing this, if you have contributed to the art form known as jazz or music, you have a say-so as an alumnus of this life on whether or not who can release what. Because
and a duty.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, because if you were a graduate at such and such, and someone was releasing a book on, let me write what's the school School of Arts in Philly?
University of the Arts.
University of the Arts.
But I'm gonna write a book. I never went there. I'm gonna write a book about it, and then I'm gonna release it. And he's like, well, aren't you friends with Anwar and Jeanette? Is like, yeah, yeah. So what do you mean?
Right.
What does that mean? What would he ask me? So you didn't
Yeah,
ask him?
facts.
No, man. But but like I heard stories, and this story is like, no, like
You
there
can't do
needs
that
to be
anymore.
there
Go
needs to be
interview them. They still alive. Like, come
there
on,
needs
you
to be an
tripping?
there needs to be an uproar. Like, yo, like there's we can't allow anyone to write a book on this history. If you are an alumnus of this music, you contributed in any form or fashion, you have a say so. You have to understand that. And anyone that goes ahead and try to write some shit about this, no,
You can't.
Yeah, I
no.
always take a I always take liberties in mentioning the story. I have an aunt who passed in 2000 and it was 2020. She passed in 2000 and maybe 12. She was the cellist in the Uptown String Quartet, and she played with Max Roach's daughter. They were on the they were on Sesame Street. They were on the Cosby Show,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
etc. She was the one. She was my influence for wanting to be a player.
Mm.
She she lived right outside of New York in Jersey City. She played on Broadway. She played with Lufa. She played with Alicia Keys. Like
Wow.
she was that person in my family that was
You heard
like,
the F, right? You heard the
yeah,
F.
yeah. That means
Fantastic.
fat Lufa. Y'all know. Y'all know. But like, she was the maybe the only person to this day I've ever heard like walk for real on cello. She
Mm.
could walk like for real. But in her purview of music was all encompassing. She played classical, she played Broadway. Their repertoire was like spirituals, but they also did jazz stuff, James Brown, etc. So I got my holistic outlook about music from her, for sure. Like above anybody else. Like when I was auditioning for college, one of my teachers at Settlement Music School in Philadelphia gave me a Max Roach solo. She knew Max super close and listened to me play it. She's like, do it again. Do it. That was all right. Do it like. And she was sick at the she had cancer at this time. She was still sat there and heard me, sort of hack my way through this Max Roach solo for hours and hours on end. So
Yeah.
like, and this was maybe last year. I have, I never hear that again. It's like all these stories are buried,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately. I hadn't heard that much about her in New York, but when I talk to certain people, they know. But this was about maybe last summer. I walked into the jazz gallery, and they had the Uptown String Quartet's portrait on the wall, and I'm like,
Nice.
yes, there you
awesome.
go. But that's it's one of those things
Yeah.
we have to consciously unearth all these stories because there's
We
so
do.
many.
Bro, yo,
Like it's
music,
crazy.
jazz history, rock history, R&B history, blues history, in any genre of history, like a history book of any genre should be this thick.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like if I was writing a book on jazz history, yo, there's no way that I'm not going to get every single story from the West Coast, from the Midwest,
Right,
from
right,
the
right, right, right.
mountain,
Hmm.
from the South, from the Northeast, from the different
All of it.
variations of the South.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Like
Hmm.
because like yo, I wish Darren was here, like because the history of Mississippi is different than New Orleans, than
Hmm.
Yep.
Louisiana, than like
Yeah.
Alabama, than Florida. You know what I mean? Than Georgia. Like yo, there's so much great information, and as a student of this art form, it's like yo, wow. Like I remember when I was in high school when Ken Burns' jazz series
Mm.
came out,
Hmm.
and it was like I was a student of this art form and I'm learning it, right? And then like I didn't think about JJ, and it was just like, bro, you just ignored a whole like instrument.
No, say,
I mean,
how do you
like,
do that? How do you get away with it?
like not a section of history, a whole instrument, a prominent instrument in this music. You just ignored it. You know what I mean? So it was just like, it's like I I can't fathom. I remember going to school, waiting to like talk to my friends as if it was like Jordan in the playoffs about to win his 17th championship. He's like, bro, did you watch Ken Burns? Yo, man, I rushed home and I watched it and like, did you hear anything about JJ? I didn't. Maybe I missed it. Sitting there waiting for a rerun. Because back in the day, you had to wait for a rerun.
Right.
You know, like maybe there was okay, wait for the rerun. Rerun came on. They didn't say anything about JJ. Like, you know, it's like each genre of music history book should be this thick. Should be thicker than the Bible. Be like, did you read the Bible? Yeah, I read the Bible. Did you read the rock history? Man, that's a lot. I don't know if I can read that.
And it's so important. It's so important that we, as the students, as the bringers of this music to whatever music we study, that we continue to check the gatekeepers at every possible moment. No matter if that gatekeeper is your friend. Like, I don't like, if you're running something and you're my friend, I got to check you and make sure that you understand what it is, because I'm not going to let you run something and forget a whole section of something or what have you. You know, it happens. We're all of the age where friends are getting gigs in colleges, friends are running programs. And so it's like, all right, so what are you doing about this? Because when we were there, it wasn't like that. So it's important that we make sure that we try and take this music back to us, I guess is the phrase. And so that we don't forget these things. Like I just want to mention her name while we're here, because living in Philly and going to UArts, I got the chance to see and talk to Trudy Pitts. And like,
nice.
And it was
flex. Why don't you?
Right. Same. Like, I had her for a class. That was like.
So we just gonna sit here and just flex all night? Okay, I get it. That's cool. I mean,
but like the dopest thing though, honestly, about going to school in Philly was that there were so many good musicians, both men and women, and nobody cared. Like it was just like in Philly. I'm gonna say in Philly.
Yeah.
It was. I won't say in UArts or Temple, but in Philly, it was like, yo, if you need to go see this person because they are who is, like they brought a cellist, Monica McIntyre, to the school, and everybody was like, who's this? I was like, yo, she was a cellist. The first time I ever saw a woman play cello like a guitar. And
she's special. Monica is special.
It was just so nice, like to be in an environment that it didn't matter and that wanted you to be a better artist, no matter what your gender, no matter what your race. Of course there was nepotism, but like people would get kicked out of places. Like that's just what would happen. Because if you weren't really playing, it just wasn't gonna happen. So yeah, so we are running out of time. I spoke to Andy to see if we could not play his song today, but I think we should give people a little taste, and then we can get to my song.
Come on, let's get a little bit of taste.
We're not
a little bit of taste.
Little taste.
Whatever you want to do. I'm cool either way.
Just a little bit of taste, Andy.
Wait, is the song out yet?
Yeah. It's apple juice.
So let's
talk
about the song really briefly, Andy.
Yeah, okay, so this is a tune that I wrote kind of really inspired by the early part of the quarantine and what I was doing, what I was studying, just the early part of the pandemic. Time. Yeah, and it's inspired by some of my favorite composers and players tend to be piano players like like Herbie Nichols, Monk, Horace Farland, Mary Lou Williams, these cats. So it's like there's a quirkiness in the compositions of people like Monk and Herbie Nichols, and I just think it's so fun to they would be such great masters at coming up with just sort of little ideas or clever ideas and developing it into a blowing vehicle or developing into a composition for the band to play. So and I always like it when people come up with plays on names. Like Grant Green would do that a lot. On Green Street. Mr. Green. He would do stuff like that. So this tune is called Core Untenable, and it's Oregon Quartet featuring Wayne Escoffer, who's on my record, which is out on Next Level Records. NYC Stories came out February 7th. And this is a tune that I wrote sort of inspired by that. And it's also, it's just like a virtual thing. This organ trio with Dan Pugach and Brad Whiteley, we were playing pretty regularly before the pandemic. So I just want to kind of document it. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Shout out to Wayne Escoffery.
Shout out to Wayne Escoffery.
Wayne.
Shout out to the whole band. This is,
so
this is the video. I'm gonna, if everybody could mute, I'm going to actually share the video. Let's do this. Full screen. We won't play it all, but we're gonna give everybody a taste. Yeah, man.
Dope.
Yeah, man.
Someone tell
Hello.
Wayne that I'm mad at him.
That middle
Seriously.
section is lit.
I know, right?
I didn't want to stop on Brad's solo because I was like, oh, this is about to be killing. But I wanted to give a moment. That was killing. Killing. I also love, okay, so Andy, I first saw you play with Nickel and Dime Ops.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like, it's like, who is this? Like, this is like, you were killing. And so it's just like, it's nice to know that all of the musicians I know are able to play multiple genres of music, because it's so important. And I think we tend to forget that, especially anybody that's gone to jazz school. Sometimes jazz school tears you apart so much that you forget that other pieces of music or other genres exist. But genres, I mean, jazz is only in the long list of, musical genres that are of Black American music and just the diaspora of music. So I'm so grateful that I know all of you and that I can, we can share music together, of all styles and genres and everything. Because like, if I would have seen you, like if I would have only seen you in Nickel Dime Ops and then I heard that, I've been like,
It's the same cat? Damn.
is that the same person? That's the Andy
Yo,
Bianco?
I thought he only played like quarter notes and
Appreciate
half
you.
notes.
Appreciate you.
He plays eighth notes and 16 notes as well.
Right? Like, what?
How does that work?
I think it's dope. So we are getting,
Likewise, thank you. Likewise.
oh my gosh.
Right back
So
at
we
you.
are getting to the end. I don't want to keep everybody too long. But I want to thank everybody that's been hanging out on YouTube. And I want to thank you guys. I want to talk really briefly. We're going to come back right after the song, but I want to talk really briefly about the song that we're here to celebrate tonight.
It's sexy as hell.
It's called
Throwing it out
Space and Timing.
I know.
Yeah,
It's sexy.
song.
Maybe it's give me 2 seconds to like,
Yo, you're hilarious.
like if you got somebody to hold hands with, you might want to like dance with somebody. All right, I'm done. I'm gonna mute myself. Mute.
So this song was written in April of 2017, and it's so specific because I wrote it while I was doing a residency at Jazz Center for Arts and Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning in Jamaica, Queens. And I was able to get that residency for the month, and I got to perform at the end of the month. I got to perform on Cinco de Mayo of 2017, some new songs that I wrote. And this song came out of an experience with a boy that I knew I couldn't be with, but still loved very deeply and wanted to, and it came up in my life to sing about it. And so I got the opportunity last year to sing it with an amazing ensemble of musicians in a session for Jason Marshall's Joy Unspeakable album.
Nice.
If you don't have that record, go get it. And the band, if you're not familiar with that album, 2 of the however many of us were in the studio are on the call tonight. Mr. Russell Carter on drums, Mr. Willerm Delisfort on organ,
Right. Nice.
and Khalil Kwame Bell is on percussion. We've got Jason Marshall on baritone sax, Wayne Tucker on trumpet, and the most ridiculous of ridiculous, Mark Whitfield on guitar.
Nice.
Such a fun night. Day.
Sounds killing.
I mean, one of the best things I've ever been a part of. And I was
easiest recording session.
Oh my gosh. I was in that session like, I shouldn't be here. Like, I don't belong here. Why am I here? Let me just go. And that more, like, I had taken off of work. I had a day job. Taken off work. I had to go to a funeral in the morning. And then I came to the session because it was like blocks away. So we do this song and I get the recording back and there are 2 vocal takes. And I did not like the first one at all. And I was like, the second one is so much better. And then, so the song unfortunately didn't get on Joy Unspeakable, but I still had it in my possession because it's my song. So I was just like, this past year, I was like, yo, I want to release this song. I need a happy song after this sad ass EP Silivagant, by the way, go check that out too. But I was like, I need a happy song. And I was like, yo, I should grab the session from that session. And then, so I send it to Willie Green. I send him both vocals. I send him everything. All right. I'm like, so here it is. Like, do your magic. See what we can do. He sends it back to me with the first vocal performance. And I was just like, are you kidding? When I was in the studio, I was like, I hated that performance. Like, whatever. And then I listened to it. I was like, damn, he's right though. Like, this shit is killing. And then and then I got Darrell Hunt and Dante Pope to sing backgrounds. And the song was mixed by Willie Green, and then it was mastered by Will Quinnell. And I'm so very happy with it. And you can now stream it everywhere. You can put it on all of the playlists. You can also buy it on my Bandcamp. And it's called
Buy it on the Bandcamp.
Buy it on the Bandcamp.
Buy it on the Bandcamp.
Space and Timing.
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Could you tell me the background vocalist again? Because like I wanted to show them some love, but I didn't know who it was.
So Darrell Hunt and Dante Pope.
Boom. Shout out.
Dante's in DC and Darrell is uptown. And just I could not be happier with this song. I performed it a lot, but to have it recorded and just to be able to share it with you guys is amazing. It's a song about a boy that I will never have, but it's hopeful because, you can be in a song, and it's called Space and Timing. And I'm going to share my sound, so make sure I have it shared and everything. But yeah, thank you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed tonight. And we're gonna do this again, and we'll come back, and so everybody can tell everybody where you can get all their info and such from. Here it is, Space and Timing.
I'm trying to dance with somebody.
I don't wanna come off like I can solve your problems. They'll always be different. Who knows what'll happen? I just want you to know I'll give you room to grow, space for you in my life, filled by you alone. 1, 2, 3. You need to know what you did to me the day the both of us could lay together. The sun shines brightly on your skin. I wanted to fall in, but you knew that I knew what we couldn't do. And so I treaded softly. Now I wanted you, I backed away from loving you deeply. But if the day should come when you accept all I've got to give, given the first chance, I would love you just the way you need. You can take the lead on this love. I'm with you, so take me to the moon with your love. Shoot me into space with your touch. We've got our own gravity. should come when you accept all I've got to give. Given the first chance, I would love you just the way you need. You can take the lead on this love. I'm with you, so take me to the moon with your love. Shoot me into space with your touch. We've got our own gravity. We'll love for infinity, forever, forever. Take me to the moon with your love. Shoot me into space with your touch. We've got our own gravity. We'll love for infinity, forever,
You heard Mark at the end. I'm like, all right, I need Mark.
Mark Hampton, thank you. Yo, I'm like,
It's a great
Y'all.
song, man.
Killing.
Well, I lost my virginity like 3 times. And I
I
didn't even
I
find it.
It's a great
I
song.
have
I
listened
think
to
the
that
Bears
song
took
so
it.
much. I have listened to that song so much. I know everybody's solo. Like everybody's.
Yep.
The one thing I regret is not giving Mark Whitfield the solo on that song, but he got it in. Um, Shout outs to
Got it
him.
in.
Like I have never it's so wonderful for people to be your fan, even when you don't know them. Like anytime I see him
Yo.
now, he's my fan, and it's just so nice, like to have people like that in your life. Like he don't know me, and then he sees me, and then he's just like, "Yo, you just make it better." I'm just like, thank you, Mark.
Yo,
Like,
on the rail, like Mark Whitfield has a way of like, he's like the Miami Heat right now. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm gonna shout out to Miami Heat all day, but like he's
shout
like the
out
Miami
to
Heat.
them.
It's just like, listen, man, yo, like I'm a badass motherfucker. I can play anything. But if you need me to go waka ticket, I'm gonna do waka ticket. You know why?
Yeah.
Because this song's gonna go to the next level once I go waka ticket. And he's like, yo, this song's going to the next level. Yeah, I went waka ticket. Like Mark decided to go
Waka
waka
ticket.
ticket and move the whole existence of this entity to the next level. And then you like, would you like to take a solo? And then he takes a solo, and you're like, bro, this is not fair. I don't really know what, you can't do all this. This has got to be
No.
illegal, right?
He can really do it all. I mean, I remember seeing him do like just duo with Chris Body, like just tender ballad in front of 8,000 people, like whatever. And it's just like, damn, like all the nuance, everything. I'm like, man, yeah, he's
yo, on
so
the real,
killing Jeanette. You,
I'm-
Jeanette.
I'm going to acknowledge a moment of
Sang
insecurity.
it.
A moment of insecurity. It's scary as hell playing organ and have Mark Whitfield play guitar. Yo, on the real. If you see any videos of me playing organ and Mark's on there, look on my face. I'm just scared. No, I mean like, yo, he's like the entity of dopeness. You know what I mean? Like Mark Whitfield
Yeah.
is an amazing, is outstanding musician. It no matter what you do, even if you're just talking about like fatherhood, you talk about music, like this dude, man, just stay dropping some of the most stuff. And when he's not trying, he's doing some dope stuff. It's highly, highly intimidating playing piano, more importantly organ behind this dude, because it's just like I don't know what I'm doing. I am so scared. I got that
I'm
out.
glad somebody else
All
is
right.
scared.
Yeah, man.
Because
I was listening to that Jazz Futures record live at Newport. I think he
Bruh.
done that, and it's Tim Warfield and Antonio Hart. Woo!
I got that album.
Yeah.
I got that album.
Mark sound like it's just he was just such a
Just
monster.
saying. Honestly, it's a scary thing, man. And I just need approval and acknowledgement. Like, Will, we just want to say we support you because that shit was scary. that whole thing, like the world will never know like how scared I was. Just acknowledging it is what it is. Love you, Mark.
Solo will.
Oh my God, when we first discussed the song, I wanted everybody to have like an entire chorus. Like, I was like, everybody can just play on the song, like for an entire, like, just play the whole song once through. Like that will be your solo. And everybody's like, bitch, that's too long. And I'm just like, but you guys are great.
We're not doing an alternate take. Is this not alternate take?
Exactly.
Bob, alternate take, please.
The song should have been 10 minutes long so that everybody could have played on the entire
Wiley,
song.
yeah.
You should come and do like the next Dime Ops gig whenever. I mean, after the because I'm listening to that. I'm like, I feel like you know, you could have done that, or like that would have been so great if you would have done that up at Smoke, because it's like what is it, like 4 nights of the Dime Ops band anyways, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like that would be perfect.
Have you done that gig with us?
No, I've been called. He calls me in when I'm in the audience just to sing on something.
Okay.
Like, oh, Jeanette's here. Just sing over this.
That'd be a great one to do. Like next, I mean, it would fit so well, you know, and plus, you know, it'd be so much fun.
Shout out to Nichols.
Shout out to Nichols.
Cali. All day.
Shout out to Nickel.
I was so nervous going into that session, boy. Like that first take, I was like, it's got to be perfect. Like, who am I in the studio with? What is this? Oh my God! Like, Jesus Christ! And I'm so very happy with the song.
The single came out brilliantly beautiful. The album came out beautiful. It was a beautiful day, and it's a testament to what we were saying earlier about just being as to all the musicians that are still with us right now. The album,
Joy Unspeakable.
But I wanted to
show it.
I wanted to show it.
Can I order that? I can order that directly from Jay, right? Will?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
I mean, like this whole day, recording this album, recording this single with Jeanette, it was just a testament to like just being as comfortable as possible you can be. And this is directed to all musicians that are watching this right now. Being as comfortable as possible in the studio.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, man,
Support.
I got all this going on. Like, listen, if you know you got to do 15 things to juggle, I'm telling you, man, call a friend. Hell, call me. Could you come in right now and help me out? Like, anybody could be someone that you want to be an ear in the room to produce, or a friend that's willing to be able to like just to help you out with things. Could you make a copy of this? Could you order this for me? Could you do such and such? Because all these labels have thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do all this stuff for the artist.
You're so right, man.
Now we're in a time where we have to do it for ourselves, but we don't have the hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. So if you don't,
phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Come on, man. Who wants to be a millionaire?
Phone a friend. It's real, man.
Concept still applies. Who wants to build millionaires? Like, yo, do not overlook this. You want to be comfortable, and that's the one thing I can say. When we recorded this album, we recorded Jeanette's single, we were comfortable, we were happy. Like when we ate lunch.
Yeah, I'd agree with
that. Oh my God, lunch was amazing.
When we had lunch, we just sat there on a freaking bench on the inside and just talked. We had such a that was a beautiful lunch. I was really happy with the lunch. We were just eating. We were putting food in our mouths.
It was delicious Thai food.
Oh my God, we were eating.
And it was such an amazing lunch because we shot the shit and just talked and like it was like, does lunch have to end? And then but lunch was just an extension of the entire day.
Exactly.
There you go.
Lunch felt like every song on the album feels. Like,
I mean,
it really,
and that's what every session should be. That's what you should strive for. I mean, like, to be in there, to do your best. Okay, we're gonna eat lunch. We're gonna have a good time. And then we were like, man, all right. Oh, is the day over? We still got like 2 more songs to go. We were happy. We went in there and we like, it's a vibe. So like, I highly recommend every musician was watching this stream, like, make it as easy as possible. You got friends. Do not hesitate in calling them.
Yeah.
And I want to shout out the recording engineer for that day. It was Richard Salino at Studio G.
All day.
Where was the studio? Was it in town?
Studio G. Yeah, Studio G in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
In
Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
It was right next to a hotel or apartment building that kind of looked like a funeral home.
But where in Brooklyn? Where in Brooklyn?
Greenpoint.
Oh, okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that spot is dope. I've been there one time. Yeah, that spot is dope.
Yeah. It's
They
really
got
nice.
all the
And
keyboards.
They got a Mellotron. They got all the keyboards.
If you're a keyboard player, they got all the keyboards.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm trying to figure out how not to get fired right now.
Right.
There's
Can we
candy
plug this
everywhere.
in, bro?
Good symbols in there, too.
Stop it, Anwar. I just want to
Sometimes
plug this.
studios, like the studio symbols, be Anwar.
Oh,
like,
all
be,
day.
Garbage. But,
It can go one way or the other, man.
They had they had some symbols there that I was like, all right,
They're serious.
Yo, it was such a wonderful day, and I was singing from the control room, and I didn't even care because I could see everybody from that way, and it was just
Nice.
an amazing day. Yeah, I have nothing more. Like, it was so dope. Play music with your friends, pay your friends, and ask your friends to do things like produce and make copies of charts, get you lunch. Shout out to the people at Studio G who brought our lunch. They got it delivered, and it's really nice to be taken care of. Like,
For
it's
sure.
really nice. So that
Counts.
those things you don't have to worry about. It does count.
They understand it though. They understand.
do.
Okay, you need to do this. Let me do this for you. It goes a long
Exactly.
way.
Exactly. So I want to end the night with everybody, if you could come back on camera, just to tell us where we can find your music, what you have going on next.
Put your pants on, Barry. Sorry, I thought I was muted. Hey, oh, Gibbo, tell Gibbo put his pants on. I'm sorry.
No, hold up. I'm not trying to. Hold up.
Oh, Gibbo.
Yo, you at tavern?
Everybody.
Gibbo.
We back in.
What up? Oh man, all these people I love.
Hey, no, that band is illegal. I'm gonna need you to disperse.
Yeah, that's definitely illegal. And
that band is illegal.
Yo, it's kind of like almost like a hang. We back in
No, it's not. That band is illegal. Tell Gibbo to disperse.
Yeah, disperse immediately.
We got to make money too, bro. You can't do that. No,
we out here for the love. Let's be real.
There you go.
Play music, maintain. You was out here last week. You know what it is.
Yeah,
Let me talk. That song was dope. I was sitting here. I was like, this is a perfect chicken wing eating music. This shit is rocking right now.
Oh, definitely.
Vibe. These chicken wings is going in, and yo,
they all got some good wings though. They got some good wings too.
No, I got the buffalo, bro. I had to do it. I had to do it.
There you go.
Look at my shoulders. Look at my shoulders. Really good wings.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, we digress. Keep going.
It's okay. I'm just gonna hold that in my heart that it was good chicken wing eating music. Like, that feels so good. That's all I've ever wanted.
Yes, that's all you ever need. If you can play it
my lips on camera.
4th of July in the South, on the beach, that's where me and Willerm from. You gotta play it on the beach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I hear
You gotta be able to compete with other people's music on the beach, and so if you can't do that,
thank you.
Yo, that's
Thank
when
you.
that's Yo, who was that? Yo, bet you want to know. Let me get a wing.
Let me get a wing though.
All right, sit down and grab a wing. Let me learn you.
So let me go around, and so everybody can say their name, where everybody can find you at, and we'll go with that, and we'll start with AD. You're muted.
Hi, I'm back. My name is Adi Meyerson. You can find me on the social medias as Adibop, so ADIBOP, Instagram. Try to get on Twitter. I'm gonna try. We'll see. You can find me on Spotify, Adi Meyerson, website. Yeah, I'm out there. I'm on the internet. So
Yay!
hopefully I can get to connect with some people, and new music will be coming out soon, and some stuff is happening. So I'm excited.
Mr. Marshall.
Yo. Am I? Oh, I'm not muted. Awesome. I'm Anwar Marshall, drummer, producer, etc. Let me see. Most active, to be honest, these days on the gram. Um, Anwar M Marshall. On that's my name on it. Pretty much everything. Anwar M Marshall. Malcolm. Um, I'm on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook. Jeanette just got my how do you call it? Website popping. So stay tuned for AnwarMarshall.com. It's on the way. But yeah, there's lots of drumming out there. Soon there will be an Anwar Marshall album. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, that's it. That's everything.
Russell.
All right. I'm Russell Carter, and Instagram, Russell Carter Music, and you can find everything else from there.
Great. He's also a producer, y'all. He's also drummer and producer. Andy.
So my name is Andy Bianco, jazz guitarist, composer, and artist, and I'm gonna thank you, Jeanette, and thank you. It was great seeing you all. My music, I'm on Instagram, Andy Bianco, Facebook, Andy Bianco Music. My song Quarantenable will be coming out October 7th on the Jazz Exchange, and my record NYC Stories is on Next Level Records, which is an imprint of Outside in Music. It's available on their website and my website, which is artistthecardandybianco.com. And lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to great jazz drummer in Pittsburgh, Dave Throckmorton, plays with Dan Wilson, and he was on my last record. He created this shirt, which I'm wearing for everyone, but especially for my friends Anwar and Russell. This is the modern.
I was checking it out.
Yes.
Modern Jazz Legacy.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
yeah.
I was checking that out.
Dope T-shirt.
We got Blakey, we got Kloop, we got Joe Harris, and Roger Humphreys who's still with us. I don't want to stand up too tall because I mean it when I'm saying I'm not wearing any pants. But thank you once again, and all the best to y'all. I love y'all, and this was such a great discussion. And I missed this. I want to do it more, and I want to hear more of everybody's music. So thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.
You too.
Barry, since you
God bless you, man.
stepped on, introduce yourself. Tell us what you got going on and where we can find you.
Yeah, hey, hi, everybody. My name is Barry Stephenson. I play bass. I appreciate y'all checking out my composition. I had to dip out because they're like, yo, we're counting off the tune. I'm like, oh, shit. So I appreciate y'all checking it out. The record's coming out on the 30th of the month. You can get it at bandcamp.com. Just type in Barry Stephenson, BarryStephenson. And you can find me on Instagram at Pocket B. Twitter is Barry's Pocket. That whole hubbub.
That whole hubbub. Thank you. And Willerm.
I'm Willerm Delisfort. My friends call me Will Delisfort. You can find me on any social media platform at W Delisfort, WDELISFORT. Anybody that has my last name is a kin of mine, so it is what it is. Hopefully we can have some new things recorded on. I have a band, the Willerm Delisfort Project. We make babies. We try to make as much babies as we possibly can. I would like to also put a shout out to Spotify. I have a Spotify playlist called hashtag Some of My Homies Are. Some of My Homies Are. Homies HOMIES ARE. Where I feature just my contemporaries and all the dopeness that they've ever recorded. So if you follow me, you can definitely hear all my friends hear their music that's on there. There's a lot of bangers. So, I mean, just make sure that you're secure in your relationship with where you are in life before you hold any hands and you put on. I mean, I don't want to get blamed for oh my God, I got 15 kids. You didn't tell me. Yeah. So W Delisfort, the website is coming. My beautiful wife is helping me put it together. Yeah, blessings and reach out to me if you need anything. Yeah. Okay.
Likewise.
Thank you all. Yeah, thank you all so
For
much.
sure.
My name is Jeanette Berry. You can check out the new single Space and Timing at JeanetteBerry.bandcamp.com. With all of my other recorded music on there. Thank you all so much for this night. When I was talking to Will about the date, he was like, that date seems important. I'll never forget that. And I realized that this is the either today or yesterday was the anniversary of a dear friend's passing. So I'm grateful that I'm able to take all of my friends and ancestors with me through this music and through this journey that music has put me on. And I'm so very grateful. And I honor my ancestors for just the path they have set out for me. So I'm very grateful. And I just want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you to all my musical family. I'm so very happy this is out, and I'm so happy we did this publicly. This is kind of like our Tuesday night hang, so this is dope. Check us. I think I'm gonna do this next month. So stay tuned.
I was still dancing though.
You
So I thought I was
Cause-
muted. I'm sorry. I thought I was.
Because Russell got that.
Russell got that.
I was like, that's ghetto. I love it. Bring it on.
He know it's illegal too. He know it's illegal.
What it's about.
Yes. These are my two go-to drummers. Everybody, I claim them. I had Anwar first before anybody in New York did. So
Yo,
I'm just
before anybody anywhere, practically.
Before Matheny.
Yo.
Way back.
We were asking and had Anwar coming to New York while he was in Philly to do the Sundays with us. He's like, "Say, bro,
Facts.
I got like
Facts.
I got $2 to give you."
And I'll be like, cool, let's do it.
You see the rock? You see the rock? Like, but
I got $2.
Cats are like,
and you
yo,
know
man,
why? It was the
who's this
book
dude
of
on drums?
the Will Delisfort's book of music. That's what sold me.
That's baby.
All day.
I love this so much. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. That's the end of our party. You guys, I'm gonna get off of YouTube now and thank you all privately. So thank you guys so much.
I gotta take my pants off. This is a long time I had my pants off.
That's fine.
We still on YouTube?
Join the rest of us, Will.
Oh, okay.
That's why I wear dresses. Come on. All right. Good night,
I'm a
everybody.
child of God.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. I'm actually just gonna take us all off. Good night. I'll text you all. Love you.
All right.
Love you too. Peace.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.